All right, guys, what's up? Welcome back to the Raging Atheist. I'm here with my friend Dr. Josh, and he said he's cool with people coming in. So, if you're interested in coming in, let me know. I will try to pay attention to the chat. But we are going to be talking Matt Powell. I feel like I almost went live immediately upon seeing his video. Told myself I was going to watch the video again before coming into this, and I just really couldn't bring myself to do it. I don't know. It's almost a disappointing thing, Dr. Josh, that I still get surprised by Matt Powell. You know, like I still allow him to kind of fool me with his messages, and he pretends concern, and then boom, I just pure evil comes at me. I think what got me the most was, and I do want to actually say, if Matt is listening, that I do appreciate the fact that he didn't use the footage of me getting emotional over my daughter again in his new video. But that's the only good thing I can say about his new video. Like, it doesn't represent our debate at all. It doesn't represent what happened. It is a pure example of, in my opinion, what I've come to believe is why we just really shouldn't debate people like Matt Powell. He's going to misrepresent it, and it's hurtful. It's you deal with the guy. Like, I've dealt with this guy for a year, Dr. Josh, and it's hurtful that he hasn't grown at all. In fact, it seems like he's getting worse. But we'll let you introduce yourself, Dr. Josh. I'm sure all of you know who Dr. Josh is. For some reason, did not put the channel in the description, but I will after this is over. I'll get your channel link in the description. But I'm sure you guys all know, and if you haven't subscribed to Digital Hammurabi or Scholar Fiction, what the hell is wrong with you? But Dr. Josh, what's up, man?
Hey, I really appreciate you having me on, and it's very kind. So if you don't know me, Dr. Josh, I've got a channel with my wife. It's her channel, but I come on it, and so I've got a PhD in Assyriology from Johns Hopkins University, and the two of us talk about the ancient Near East and things, that are involved in the ancient world, and so that brings us into the purview of the biblical texts, particularly the Old Testament, Hebrew Bible, and so I end up talking a lot about issues related to that. We've kind of been on a bit of a Hebrew Bible, Old Testament slavery kick for a while. Had a very interesting conversation the other night, and there's another one coming up on Modern Day Debate with someone who I think is probably going to be, it's going to be a much more pleasant conversation with Dr. Michael Brown. Seems like a really nice guy. So yeah, I think it'll be good. But I appreciate you having me on to talk about this stuff. So
Well, I appreciate you coming on. You've been kind of one of the people that I've been talking to about the situation as it's been going on. And yeah, like, your channel is just amazing to me. Like, even if it's stuff that I don't know about, like, I commented in your chat, like I seriously only passed Spanish because I played football. I'm trying to find Dragnauts. There, no, that's not. Like, I seriously only passed Spanish class because I played football. So like my brain just doesn't function like that. Like, I can't learn languages. And people tell me, oh, everybody can learn, and I'm like, seriously, I can't learn languages. But I'm still fascinated by just the information that your channel provides. Like, it's something that I personally don't think I could ever do in a million years. I can sit there and watch you just talk about that stuff forever. There you are, Dragnaut.
well, I appreciate that. I mean, there certainly is, obviously there's probably a middle ground there. Like, I mean, all of us think that we can't do things, and I'm sure you can do a whole lot more than you anticipate. But it's absolutely true. I mean, I'm not a mathematics guy. My brain's not wired that way, and the sciences, I'm sure I could do a lot better than I have done, but that doesn't mean that I'm geared that way. But I think part of the problem with things like, and I think this plays into maybe what we're talking about tonight a little bit, is that some of these issues are very complicated and very complex, and unfortunately, there seems to be a problem where some people will overly complicate uh, information in such a way that it makes people not take the time to really dive into some of these issues because they think they can understand them. And then there are others that have a model of interpretation that in certain ways accounts for the data points, and because it answers so many questions to them, they just embrace it. And that's sort of what I see happening here, but it's too simplistic of an approach, and it sort of boxes out, it blocks out. If you have this paradigm, if you have this methodological approach, particularly if it's flawed, it doesn't allow for outside sources to come in, and when they do, you can very easily filter them out because it doesn't agree with your very specific interpretation, and it's a dangerous position to be in.
Yeah, and with the NIFB, and I know Matt pretty much goes out of his way to claim not to be NIFB, even though I know he is, and there's reasons for that. They're actively, like right now, Serge just put out the video, but it was probably a month ago when he first linked me the link to this atrocious convention that they're having down in Florida, in Orlando, mocking the victims of the Pulse Night shooting as they're putting on this Make America Straight Again convention. This is the NIFB, and Matt doesn't like, and I don't even understand why he doesn't just admit that he's NIFB. Everything he says is NIFB, and yet in our last debate, he just refused to go there. And I'm like, dude, you have told me to my face off camera that you follow Steven Anderson, that you are NIFB, but he is not. It's just the dishonesty. The dishonesty just gets me every single time. Like, he actively says that it's okay to lie to promote the cause of the church. It's okay to deceive, and no, it's not. Like, that goes against the tenets of your religion. Like, everything that you should be against is what you're doing on every single. And it's not just him. Like, Brett. What's up, Dragnot? Brett fucking. Excuse me, Doctor. I try not to curse when you're here, but Brett Keane. It can't get my name out of his mouth. It's one or two videos every single week, and he's just pretty much mimicking everything Matt Powell says about me, just almost to a T. Like, why are you kissing this dude's ass, guy? I don't know. It's like I've tried to stay silent on Brett Keane, and I've tried to stay silent on Matt, and like I'm done with Matt. I'm not going to poke the manatee too much. I've done it enough, but I'm done with that. Like, not being the Raging Atheist anymore. No, I'm poking the manatee again. I got a new quotes for the manatee video coming out. Like, screw these people.
By the way, he's leaving. So
yeah, well, that's what he said, and then he continues to make videos about me. I wish he would.
Well,
what's up, Dragnot?
What's going on? I don't think I've actually sat in a hangout with Dr. Josh yet. I know he and I have been watching each other.
Few can boast such a thing, so.
Fair enough. Fair enough. No, I have not had a chance just to sit down and talk to really. I talked to you, Nakasuchi, for a little bit, but I've not talked to Dr. Josh. So I said, you know what? While I'm hopped up on about 16 ounces of daiquiri here, looking over some physiology stuff, I figured why not come and talk, because I've been watching you. I've been watching Skylar and a lot of folks kind of in my spare time. The little of this madness that I do watch. I usually watch ASMR videos and like anime, but I find it interesting, really interesting that for someone as scientifically illiterate as Matt Powell, I almost call him Steven Anderson, the same person. I wish I took life as seriously as Matt Powell takes himself. I really do. I really like he knows nothing about science. I mean, just literally knows dick all about it. But man, oh man, I just watched that little video of his where he's asking you, well, do you think that all this order became something out of chaos? Like, that's so awesome. You ask somebody an argument from incredulity. That's so awesome, man. You are so cool, Matt Powell. Let me 2 thumbs up, buddy. 2 thumbs, but just let me.
The thing that I can't say enough about Matt Powell, like, is the difference in the kid in the 2 different encounters that we had. So in the first encounter, it was just me and Matt. just the two of us. He showed up, and I'm like, dude's got some balls. He showed up. Like, I didn't think he would. I really didn't know who Matt Powell was at the time. But just me and Matt one-on-one, and he could say awful things, but like just off camera, he was so likable, just so likable. Like, you wanted to like him, you were like drawn into his personality. But in the second conversation, he had his whole crew there. And when I mean whole crew, I mean he had his dad, all of his brothers, like his brothers were talking to me, trying to save my soul and bring me to Christianity. His dad was talking to me, trying to save my soul and bring me to Christianity. He had all of his little sycophants from his church, like staked out through this Michigan Capitol Library that is a public build, like the Capitol Library in Lansing, Michigan, right? And he had people staked out on this floor and this floor, and like, let's walk over here and let's walk over here, and we're gonna try to film in this library. I'm like, dude, have you even asked any of these people if we can film in this library? And he hadn't. He just thought he would walk up in there and get what he wanted. It was a stark difference. Like, that, you could see him just order this person here and order that person here, order his dad to his face, do this, and his dad would do it. It was like, I understand now. Yeah. I understand.
That's somebody being crafted and molded to fit inside of this paradigm. And so when he is amongst them, he knows to take on that role. But of course, when you have him one-on-one, he can kind of relax and let his hair down and be himself. And I don't find that surprising at all. Like, I could tell the kid, he might not be somebody I fuck with or mess with outside of YouTube, but he does seem like he could be an okay guy. But then he needs to put on this cloak of, well, I am going to be the preacher now. Because I listened to him when he was on when he came on Scholar Fiction show way back. And I listened to him, and the kids and they talked on video games. And I'm like, I can tell that's not how, like,
I mean, I straight up laughed at him about that. Like, I straight up laughed at him, like, dude, you really don't believe that, right?
No, you can tell he does it. You can tell he's repeating this line, and I looked in the audience, and I'm like, all these guys are like beyond. They're over the hill. Everybody in the pulpit, everyone outside the pulpit, they're over the hill. He is feeding them the narrative that they want to hear. Because he probably does. He's probably not a gamer, but you know what? He doesn't care. He's going to tell them whatever they want to hear. And so if I were to ask them, so what's bad about the last Call of Duty, my man? Like what exactly do you not like about it? Did you know that, it's so he wouldn't be able to tell you.
I'm pretty sure he's been caught saying that he actually plays Call of Duty.
But the video game.
Yeah. Like, and that's the hypocrisy of it. Like, like, he goes around and he literally says this time and time again. He said it in our debate. He says it in his videos. Brett Keane says it on his channel. Raging Atheist made 10, 20 videos of Matt Powell calling him out for a debate. I made 3. It's just, everything is dishonest. Like, they can't be honest about any, and I'm going to lay it all out because, and I haven't really put it out there since we started this. My response is going to be epic. I'm going to make a documentary. And it's going to be long. I'm going to spend some time on this, going through all of my footage. I've got more footage on Matt Powell than anybody. I'm going to be talking to a lot of people. Right now, I'm talking to you guys. This will probably end up in the documentary. And I'm going to crush this kid, and it's going to be called A Christian Falsely So-Called.
I tried watching his movie. I really did. I really tried watching it, and it's so bad.
have you guys watched Viced Rhino's? I think he's got like 5 videos where he critiques it. And I don't know Viced Rhino's background, like his scientific background, but I mean, and again, I don't have a scientific background, but he seems like he's very, very well informed, and he just picks it apart. And even having no background in it, it sounds like he just absolutely destroys what argument is the model that he's trying to bring the data points together with, which I think is
he's done a really good job. And I found his criticisms of me have been fair, and I fully endorse everything that he's done in his breakdown of the movie.
This is sort of the thing that I struggle with all this. I mean, and I said this a year ago when I was on the Non Sequitur show, and Matt Powell's name came up. And I said, I feel like in a lot of ways, in my 20s, I was Matt Powell.
Mm.
Essentially, there's some extreme views that he has that I think probably the only reason that I didn't have them is because I didn't think about them. But had I thought about them, given the interpretive paradigm, the hermeneutical approach that I had to the biblical text, and the very narrow group of people and authors that I read, I probably would have come to very similar conclusions. And the thing is, I don't feel like I was a bad guy in the sense of I wasn't an asshole trying to hurt people. I
understand exactly what you're saying. Like I felt that way too. Like I was never like a creationist like them. Like I've been very open, which you'd have to go way back in my video list to probably actually find it, about how like dinosaurs were one of the first things that kind of made me like call bullshit on religion, right? Like wait a minute. You're saying the Earth is 6,000 years old, but the dinosaurs are 400,000. Like how like it doesn't make any sense. So like it was one of the first things that really led me to question my religion. But the homophobia, I understand that exactly, because like my justification for my homophobia was like, yeah, I don't like gay people, but I'm not out there bashing on them. I'm not attacking them physically. I just don't approve of their lifestyle, right? But it was even like looking back on that now, I'm like, holy crap, like, man, I was a dick.
Yeah, and I'll admit that I was one of those people too, believe it or not. It was especially for transgendered individuals, and I didn't understand them, and so now I make it my goal to understand people that
me too,
I'm not around. And it's funny how much you have in common with people the more that you put yourself in. I wouldn't say precarious situations, but in situations that you wouldn't normally find yourself in. And you'll find more often than not that these people who put out these types of ideas, they have a visceral response to something that they're not naturally inclined to. Like I'm not the biggest fan of watching two guys get it on. That's fair enough, but I'm also not a fan of watching old people get it on. But I'm not going to say that I don't approve of old people's lifestyle. What does that even mean?
Yeah, like that is a perfect example, Dragnaut. Like, yeah, like I understand exactly what you just said. Yeah, I don't like watching two dudes get it on because I'm a straight heterosexual male, and I've explained this to Matt several times. Like, and he just doesn't understand this. But it is in this very same essence that no, I don't want to see my grandma kissing anybody, even if it's my grandpa. Like no, that's nasty. Ooh, yeah. Stop.
But here's the thing. How many straight people do you know that probably do some really nasty stuff behind closed doors? You don't judge them. You don't go out of your way and say, oh man, you eat ass. I'm not really a fan of that. And the thought of that kind of makes me gag. So I don't approve of your lifestyle. I don't do that. So I'm not going to do that to gay people, right? So that's the way I look at it.
Well, and that's my thing that brought me, and I tried to tell this to Matt, and he kind of shrugged it off and said, I think his response was like, every gay person I've ever met in real life has tried to hit on me. And I'm like, dude, you're not that cute. Like you got the rosy red cheeks. You're not that cute, but I was like, dude, like what led me out of my homophobia was I met a guy that was cool enough and had thick skin enough to actually mess with me about my homophobia, and just after a period of time, it just like he was another dude, and he was cool and he was just talking shit, and it was like, yeah, like and then once you get to know him on a personal level, you're like, no, he's got a boyfriend. He ain't looking at me like that's the fear is that you think that they're looking at you like you're a woman, and men don't like that thought. They can't stand it.
It's a certain level of comfortable you have to be with yourself to really engage with folks, because I will tell you, and it's kind of an open joke on my channel, is that people see me with my shirt off, just like now. I usually do, shows with my shirt off. There are at least
You're braver than
people.
Me.
Yeah, hey, it's hot here. It's hot. Matter of fact, here, can you turn on the fan? There's at least 3 people that I know of that watch my videos for a very specific purpose. One of them watches my videos with the sound off for a very specific purpose, and I know it is now because their real life friend told on them. And so like maybe 10 years ago, I'd have found that disgusting. I'd have been offended, but now it's hilarious to me. It is absolutely hilarious. And I don't care, because you know what? There are people that I find attractive on YouTube all the time, and I go and I click on their videos too. So why should I feel weird about someone doing exactly what I would do if I was in their shoes?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me at all anymore. Like I've got a long time commenter, Rob. Sometimes he checks in on me, sometimes he's not. He's a fundamentalist Christian gay man that hits on me nonstop, and I have no problem with it. It's like a compliment. Like, dude, you're a really cute gay dude. Right? And you're attracted to me. I can't get a better compliment than that. Yeah.
Yeah. If women and men love you.
Yeah. I mean, you're doing something right. I'm 41 years old.
When I think about this, I wonder though, because again, I'm putting myself back in my 20s. I don't know that that visceral reaction originates from a natural dislike for something. I think that he has learned X is wrong, and then because of that, that's part of the paradigm.
And I think a lot of what Matt does is to grab attention. He wants to be famous. I think that's what he cares about more than anything. Is more and more people knowing who he is, whether it's good or bad. I think that's what he cares about more than anything.
I think that's true for a lot of people. Standing for truth is another. Brett Keane definitely Brett Keane Brett Keane Hollywood, like his whole persona online is an attempt to garner some type of image online that it doesn't fit in the real world. And so many of the theists, especially some of the more radical ones, will try and do different things, but you'll notice that they avoid having open conversation with people who know quite a bit about.
Oh yeah. Me and Dr. Josh were, and I'll let you continue. I'm sorry, but me and Dr. Josh were just talking about this before we went live. But go ahead, Drag.
Yeah, no, it's something that I've noticed over the years of engaging with people, because I'm known mostly for engaging with G-Man. He's an idiot, but when I engage with other people, it's a different conversation to be had. There's a bit of a back and forth. And so the people who are looking to score points don't fare very well against me, because I am more interested in having the conversation. I know outside of the internet, I am actually fairly important in my local area because of the things that I do. So my goal isn't to simply just make you look like a fool to earn some e-cred so I can go to sleep tonight. But on the other hand, that's what this other person is trying to do. But there's very few people who are going to engage me in a conversation about the CD8 positive invasion and the presence of metastatic associated macrophages within liver cells. There's very, very few people on this platform who's going to be able to do that. So
no, I could definitely debate you on weed strains.
Probably. That would be my area. But that's something that I'm always keen on, because it's funny to hear Matt Powell try and talk about science, because I can't say that he even has a cursory understanding of any of these topics, even physics, but he fancies himself as somebody who's going to make it big, but he's not actually challenged himself, because I could literally throw him in an arena with sock account and discuss philosophy with sock account, and he's going to look terrible because he knows nothing. When it comes to anything outside of just throwing out these canned responses.
Well, and that's why he runs from debates from people that he thinks will beat him thoroughly.
Like Arn Ra, yeah.
Arn Ra's one, but like Jim Agers. I mean, Jim Agers told me, and hopefully I'm not like putting his shit out there because he told me this privately, but like he told me Matt Powell, before the debate that he moderated between the two of us, like Matt Powell's been dodging me for months on a debate. And then we get into the debate, Matt Powell's like, I don't even know who you are. Like, I'm like Jim was just telling me about how you've been dodging him in the debate and you don't know who this guy is. But there's another person that he's really Jackson Wheat. Jackson Wheat's been trying to debate Matt Powell for a long time now, and Matt Powell doesn't want to have nothing to do with Jackson Wheat.
Well, Matt did. Oh, sorry.
Didn't they talk once already? I'm sorry, Carl.
They might have talked before, but I like.
Didn't they not?
Jackson was really calling him out in our debate, and Matt's new thing is now he no longer is debating anybody.
Well, I don't know. He seems to want to debate people now. He says he's tired of debates, but he's not tired of debates.
Yeah, well,
said
it's
this
so
before.
back and forth with this.
Yeah.
Shit, you know, it's,
Well,
it's like,
here's what I would like. Does he actually watch your videos?
oh,
yeah,
I'm fairly certain
absolutely.
he's watching right now. Yeah,
Right now,
he's
okay,
probably
so-
making a new video.
Well, I'll tell you what, Matt Powell, how about this? Instead of trying to debate people, you can do what I do now. Just have discussions, right? That if you make it less contentious, maybe you'll come out better. Maybe you'll actually learn more
And
and
that's-
get points.
I've told him this so many times. Like, I don't even think he understands my beef. It's like, I don't care if you make videos and you make me look stupid. What I care is that you represent me honestly, and not only that, but just be honest with your arguments. I don't think he believes half the stuff he says. He just regurgitates what it, he just regurgitates what Hovind and Anderson says.
Yeah,
verbatim,
I love, but here's the thing. What you have to learn how to do, especially on this platform, is when you have people who are trying to just repeat some of these lines, especially from Hovind, you get them on that because they don't know anything outside of that. I recently had a 4-hour sit down with G-Man where he repeated Hovind's lines about B17. And I said, look, I know exactly what B17 does when it gets in your body. I know about rhodonase. I know exactly what metabolite it forms, and I know how it affects your body. And I laid everything out for him. He had no response at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so
that's exactly why Matt would never get into any kind of conversation with you. Me and Dr. Josh were just talking about that. Like, he looks for people like me. Like I put it out there that I'm just a normal dude. Shit, I dropped out of high school, went to community college, and dropped out of that. I've read a lot of books. I've thought about a lot of stuff. And he finds me, and he's like, bingo. And I call him out on it several times. Like, why aren't you, like, you want to talk evolution? Why are you talking to me? Like, why aren't you talking to Aaron Ra? I said the same thing to Standing for Truth. You mentioned him, Drag.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
why are you not talking to Aaron Ra? This is well before he ever started dodging him publicly.
I actually know why Standing for Truth avoids Aaron. I'll talk about that in a second. But here's what you have to do. When people presume a lot about you, you have to surprise them. I have a lot of my conversations in my own Discord or off your hangouts, and that's where I learned the majority of the stuff that I know about philosophy. People rarely hear me talk about that, but then that gives the impression that I don't know anything about it. So when they actually engage me in a conversation, I know quite a bit more than they're expecting. So that's what you have to end up doing. And
he knows that shit. Like, he knows what I'm good at. Like, he doesn't ever really want to talk the Bible with me when we're together. He doesn't want to go too deep into the Bible because he understands that I know the Bible and I'm going to call him on his crap. He wants to talk evolution. I'm like, man, dude, I studied that in what, 5th, 6th grade.
Yeah, if he's just 4 points there, he can assert, oh, what about Alfred Wallace? Not too many people know who Alfred Wallace even is, so it's like he thinks he can.
No idea, I did do research going into it. I know more about evolution now because of Matt Powell than I ever would have if I had never met Matt Powell. Like, ever. Like, I'd still be on that 4th grade level. I probably got like maybe a junior high, early high school level education on evolution right now.
Yeah,
but I'd have never even gotten there if it wasn't for Matt Powell, like, making me do research for his stupid ass arguments.
But that's where you grow. That is where you grow. The mistakes that you make are what end up making you who you are at the end. I mean, this applies to anybody. I still tell people to this day, believe it or not, Brett King got the best of me when I first got on this platform. He really got the best of me. Nephilim Free too. True Empiricism did at some point. But over time, I learned from those mistakes. And so everybody has that opportunity. And it's good that you put yourself out there. But learning from those mistakes is honestly the best thing that you can do.
Oh, yeah. And I never run from my mistakes. Like, I think I might have talked about this before. Like, Steve McRae, the first time he ever watched one of my videos was on Darth Dawkins. And like, I literally reposted this just atrocious atrocity that I committed again, because I'm like, no, I'm going to put this shit out there. Like, I'm not going to run away from being made to look stupid. I didn't even know who Darth Dawkins was. This was a very cold thing that I went into, and he schooled me. And I'm not going to run from it. I'm going to put it out again and say, yes, he schooled me. So if you're going to argue about it, no, I actually think he got me here. Listen again.
Yeah, no, trust me, that made it to my Discord too. We had a whole conversation about Dawkins. Yeah.
I think that's an important point to make, though, in this is that one of the reasons that I don't enjoy, and people have tried to hold this against me, and that's absolutely fine. I could give two shits. And that is that I don't really like debating, right? I don't find I don't find myself to be particularly good at it, and that's okay. I'll tell you what I am good at.
I don't. You sell yourself short because you
really
crushed
do, Josh.
praise that I.
What?
That's not really a fair. That wasn't really a fair fight. I mean, you were gonna. Just not to gush over you, Dr. Josh, but I love your channel and you kick ass and you're.
Oh, I appreciate that.
But that wasn't even. I was like him. Just. I mean, that wasn't even a fair fight. Like, why would he? Sorry, I'm getting up there on my way. Why would they go against you, of all people, with the Bible?
You gotta go and watch the first conversation on Scholar Fiction.
Oh, I saw it, and that wasn't even a fair fight either. Wow, that's just stupid.
I think, and I really appreciate it. It's very, very kind. But I think the problem that I have, just to be specific with a debating scenario, is that giving the benefit of the doubt, I think, is probably selling it short. I mean, I think through as much as possible anything that my interlocutor says. So if for example, this Ezekiel 44, if you guys watch that debate to that extent, this God calls himself property argument, my brain says, okay, I have to give this a fair shake, right? Let me think through this argument. And so when outlandish things come up, like what about the Geneva Conventions in a discussion like that, it's like, okay, I have to think that through, when really, I really shouldn't be giving that an awful lot of thought, right? But because I sit there and I think about it, well, then it can look like, oh, I don't have a good response, or I'm giving it some credence, and then all of a sudden, so for me, I don't particularly care, but I don't really like debating. What I do like doing is listening several times to someone's argument, and then researching the hell out of the topic and writing a paper, and then reading that paper.
That's because you're a scholar, and I think that's what I appreciate most about your channel is, I say it a million times, it's such a resource. Like, even stuff I can't begin to fathom to understand, I watch your stuff and I'm like, I'm learning right now. Like, and it's 100% legitimate. You just know that. Like, I know it in my gut. I don't even have to check your sources. Like, no, I'm going to trust Dr. Josh on this one.
You know what I'm supposed to wait for it to be true?
Yeah, well, and that's one of the main things. Like, because I can't remember that, and I meant to watch this video too, and I got busy. I've been editing videos all day. But Dr. Josh, I can't remember if it was you or I think it was you made a video talking about what the Bible actually says about homosexuality. And I just really wanted to get your thoughts on what the Bible actually says, maybe the misconceptions that people like Matt and Steven Anderson might have when it comes to homosexuality and what the Bible says, or maybe they're right. But I just wanted to get you on this, and like, just so you know, this is probably going to end up in the documentary.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I guess to kind of couch this, I do think probably in its final redacted form. Okay, maybe I'll start a different direction. My video that I put out was a summary of an article that was put together in 2017 by Dr. Adon Dershowitz of Harvard University, and a brilliant scholar. And basically, he wrote on Leviticus 18. Now, Leviticus 18 is, if anybody's into this topic at all, is sort of a go-to passage. You'll hear people like Matt Powell quoting it an awful lot. One of the things that we know about those sections of the Pentateuch and the Pentateuch as a whole is that it's a product of a long transmissional history, probably to a great extent oral, and then ultimately once it started to be written down, it underwent a number of changes in different forms. And probably didn't find its final form until the late Persian period. But I'm not a Pentateuchal expert. There are people that spend their entire careers. If anybody wants to do some research on this, we have a video up called "Piecing Together the Pentateuch," and I have an extensive bibliography in the description. Joel Baden is one person that is actually a lot of fun to listen to. He's up at Yale, I think. But at any rate, So Leviticus 18 is part of this redaction, this part of the text that's redacted. And what Dershowitz is describing and pointing out through a pretty complex argument is that Leviticus 18 originally was a passage about incest, and it was a section of the law that
that's what I remember.
It was so it was against incest. And his argument, and by the way, every time somebody comments on this video, I think it's one of our more popular videos on the channel, is they always talk about, I've read his article, and what they're referring to is the New York Times piece. And not his actual article in the peer reviewed journal. So anybody listening to this, please go read the peer reviewed journal article. But
Dr. Josh, is that a response to people who say that this isn't the proper exegetical interpretation of?
No, it's what it's trying to do is say that originally the passage was about it was against incest. And so he shows redactionary layers. He shows how the grammar and the syntax is actually kind of convoluted, and it shows evidence of people coming back later and adding additional editorial layers to the text to make it say something different. So when the text was originally put together, it was against incest, but the text says, "Don't have sex with your mother. Don't have sex with your sister," but it also says, "Don't have sex with your father, and don't have sex with your uncle." Well, if it didn't say sex with father and uncle, there probably wouldn't be any problem, because what we would say is, it's saying you can have sex with women, just not these women. But the fact that it says don't have sex with your uncle and with your father seems to imply, and he makes I think a very strong case for it, that it's okay to have sex with men, just not these men. So the conclusion would be, in his opinion, that the text originally, by implication, condoned homosexuality. And when you look at the broader ancient Near East and you look at how homosexuality is viewed, there's not a lot of information that we have, say, from Mesopotamia. There aren't a lot of things in the cuneiform sources. We do have omens, for example, that talk about if a man penetrates another man, he will have success throughout the year. And you do have things that speak at it, but it's even those things are somewhat debated. The point is, though, that originally the text seemed to implicitly condone homosexual behavior, in particular between men, and that later during the Persian period, when it became taboo, his argument is that the redactor came back and said, we can't have this in here. And so it adds layers to the text, and that's what he's trying to demonstrate in the article.
Well, and I've read, and I wasn't sure how accurate, because a lot of my memory on this goes way back to my conspiracy days. Like when I first became an atheist, I was reading all these books, Holy Blood, Holy Grail. One of the books was about the pillars of Judaism and how Jesus was only one pillar, and then there were other messiahs that were the other pillar, and blah, 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 like so many conspiracy theories. So I could never really quite remember. And I remember when I watched that video, and this was like one of the first videos I ever watched from your channel, because people were like, I was dealing with Matt Powell, and this is how I first found out about Digital Hammurabi. Was like, you need to go watch this video and respond to Matt Powell with this information. So, like, I always remembered stories of Judeo lore where male homosexuality was actually permitted in society. And I just could never really remember if that was historical data that had been stored in my brain or just some conspiracy theory that was in one of these cookie books. And I've read hundreds of really kooky conspiracy books. I mean, I'm talking like I've read conspiracy theorists out there. I have read Behold a Pale Horse Riding in its original version, so if you know what I'm talking about, go see a therapist.
Just real quick, do you know who someone was asking me about this Sky Out person?
Oh yeah, I debated Sky Out on Modern Day Debate. Sky Out, he's different. Sky Out is the greatest of all time.
Yeah, he's the best.
I'm reading their description right now, and let me tell you, I've not read.
He's undefeated, although he's never won a debate.
Yeah.
So, like, Marty's really low.
Marty's you're really low, Marty. But Sky Out, I have fun with you, but Sky Out, I think he's slightly different than the Standing for Truth. Definitely on a different level than Matt Powell.
You
Like,
mind inviting him in?
He's like a Darth
Yeah.
Dawkins light. He's a
Skyle,
presuppositionalist.
would
Yeah.
you like to come in? Skyle, I'll send you. Do I still have your email, Skyle? That's the question.
I see the email. I see the email address here in his description. I'm loving these. I'm going to be repeating myself in debates.
Yeah.
I have perfected my arguments
Yeah.
to
a science.
I'm
Yep.
a tactician. I'm accurate. I'm calculated. Sometimes,
Yeah.
evidently, you can't form proper sentences, but that's
He
fine.
cannot.
I use the same over and over again in a circle. So my arguments, my argument is accurate and calculated. I come from the highest quality of theological argument.
Hey, if he comes on Drag Night, he's gonna repeat everything you're reading.
He's gonna say that whole
Didn't
twice. Actually, he'll say it twice. He'll say it when he comes in the room and again right before he leaves.
Yeah.
Really?
After you just handed him everything about his asshole, he'll be like, 8-0. I'm 8-0 now.
isn't correct me if I'm wrong, everybody, but didn't Skylar and I have a conversation with him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Skylar
Two
did, but
actually. Yeah.
Two. Okay.
And I say this guy out with love, man, because like you're not a Matt Powell. You're fun. You're fun. I enjoy having fun with you.
I don't think he's ever encountered me before, though.
No, he don't. I have a feeling
you would know,
Kyle's not
Drag,
going to
because
be
you'd
like
beaten.
yeah, send me a link right now.
If you
But
did
what
talk
is
to
he-
Drag, you would know because you would have lost.
Yeah,
Oh, I would have
definitely.
lost. Oh,
Yeah.
man. No.
No
That's how
question.
you know
I
if you
mean,
would've talked to him.
apparently I did too, and
Yeah,
Skylar
you
did.
did.
so-
After Raging Atheist, LOL, I never lose.
Take down my effort to get Dr. Josh in the corner here. Dr. Josh lost? Oh,
Yeah, twice apparently. Awesome.
What I can't figure out about Skyo is he like this little dorky ass dude, whiter than snow, or is he this big 700-pound Mexican dude? I just can't figure it out. Skyo, I need to be informed. Send invite. All right, Skyo's gonna come on.
So
we'll see if I still got his ego.
Is he like an evidentialist, like science proves my point?
I think he's
No.
I think
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
Drag, I feel like it's more
Yeah,
fun to just
Carlton
find
would
out
know.
as it
You
comes.
find out? Okay, don't tell me. I like this thing.
Yeah.
I like
Carlton can
I
probably
feel
definitely
like-
tell you.
This is one of the things about being on Skylar's channel is, and again, he bears the brunt of it. So I kind of like hide in the back and just speak when I want to. But you catch these people just as they come, because we don't know anything about them when they come on. You get like the Misha Popovs. That's like, come on, you're like,
Oh, yeah, that was hilarious. Skyo, do I have your email? I don't know if Skyo actually. No, that was praise. Skyo, do I have your email?
Like there were things that I've heard on YouTube and I've told people, like I was talking to an astronomer up at Hopkins and he's been doing astronomy at an elite level for like 35 years. And he was talking about this satellite that's been out in space. This was a year ago, been out in space for like, I don't know, however long. And it's been taking all these calculations outside of the atmosphere. So they're really, really accurate. And I said, yeah, it's funny. I run into people a lot on YouTube that think the earth is flat. And there was just this silence. And then he said, people don't believe that. And I said, no, they really do. It's like a big deal. And I thought, that's going to be the weirdest thing that I've ever heard. But then Misha Popov said that in the Ark of the Covenant, there was gunpowder. And that's what brought down the walls of Jericho. And I was like, well.
That's not the strangest thing I ever heard. There's a guy here years ago named Arcane Logos. He was a friend of G-Man, actually. And he said the Ark of the Covenant actually was a power source, and it had radiation, and that it would suck tunes and acted as a power source. I think there was some type of space travel or space alien technology also involved in it. And I said, whatever weed you're smoking, I would definitely love some.
Right.
They
Yeah.
just watched the Indiana Jones series. So,
Like,
I was going to totally say that. Like, he's watching way too much Indiana Jones.
he's just
Way too
conflating
much.
them.
There was a part where he took a little bit out of the lore of from X-Men from Abin Sur,
Oh, boy.
Apocalypse. Yeah, he took a little bit out of there too, and I was just like, "This really sounds familiar to me." You sure you didn't take this from X-Men, the animated series? No, okay. Oh, well.
Sokka, do I talk to Sokka on Twitter or email? Man, I get lost with this social media crap.
You want me to give Sokka a link?
Yeah, give Sokka a link.
I guess Sokka.
Lisa, for truth, I'll try to remember you when I get back, and that'll probably be it. But I'm gonna go and fill up my drink. Enjoying the conversation. You guys go ahead, please.
Hey, Marty, is your mic? Is it the? Yeah, it still feels like sounds like you're pretty far away.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, I'm getting an echo. That's why I turned it down a little bit. Yeah, I sent an email to Knock when he was talking about having to get that he wasn't done with Matt. I'm like, if you go after him about his homophobia, because I'm bisexual, I go, fucking let me in on that. I want to nail this fucking shit to the wall.
Well, here's something that this is what I always love to do. That's people who are really homophobic like that. They go, you know what? There's no point to homosexual. They're not reproducing. And I'm like, well, then that's true for people who are heterosexual and are sterile.
Right,
I can't have kids. I can't have kids.
So we should kill you.
I should be killed.
You should be killed. So
or my marriage isn't valid because I can't produce children. I went into menopause early, and I'm sterile. So what's the point of me even?
But they won't go that far. They usually won't go that far. And so,
blowjobs, I guess, are out.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it sucks, you know.
So you have to say, okay, all right. Well, if it's not natural, then why is it that for a male the erogenous zone is on their prostate? Why is that then? If it's not natural, and I've never actually gotten an answer for that ever.
There's a lot of shit you won't get answers for. I've actually asked people why am I, as a bisexual pagan, what morals and values am I lacking? Because I've heard that, well, you don't have family values, you don't have morals because I have a family and I value them. I have morals. I value family and people. I say I hate people because I'm a cynic and comes from working in retail and restaurants for almost 20 years. I'll be 42 next month. That's why I work with dogs. That's what I tell people because I hate people. But I value people and I value, my family and I value families in general. But what is the morals and values I'm lacking for the simple fact that I'm not heterosexual? What? And I've never gotten an answer for this.
Dude, it's I don't have any morality because I don't believe in Yahweh, or I don't have any morality, or because I don't believe in Allah. I know Skyles here. He could probably tell me how I don't have morality, but like this is I think this is why polytheist pagans and atheists and agnostics, we get along so well because I think we can understand this. Just the stigma of not being the normal is there to begin with. It just is.
I'm more interested in what people believe. Hey, Sokka, you ready to play tag?
I don't know. This is weird having Sokka in here without some kind of sock thingy going on.
Yeah, defaulted to the wrong account.
So Sky out.
Hey, what's up, Dr. Josh?
Sky out.
Hello.
Sorry, I had to unmute. How you doing, Sky out?
Hey, what's up, man?
And Marty, I just have to say, there's no way I'd have pegged you at 42.
Oh, thanks.
I would have heard the same exact thing.
Impossible. I'd have
You would
never
have pegged her at a much earlier age, I'm sure.
Yeah. Sorry, I should be more precise.
Phrasing. Well, thank you, Dr. Josh. I appreciate that.
Also, and then I promise I'll mute. But my wife can only hear the what I'm saying, and so when I out of nowhere just said, I guess blowjobs are out, it was sort of a weird sound from the other room. So.
And that's why I have my speakers going so my wife can hear everything, and so there's no question about what's being said.
No surprise.
That's why I'm not married.
My husband's in the other room, and he'll just go to me like, "What are you talking about? Oh, we're talking about blowjob." I'm like, "Okay."
No big deal. I'll send one over the internet. Just wait. Just hold on here.
This is to get serious again. This is a perfect opportunity for me, for my documentary, to get a Christian's perspective on Matt Powell. Go.
Ooh.
Pressure. And just understand that if you agree with Matt Powell, I'm going to label you a homophobic and boot you from the channel. I'm just messing with you, man.
Oh, he ran away.
Yeah, I'm actually curious because I think I've listened to a little bit of what he's had to say, but I've never actually engaged him. And so I love running across people for the first time. And this girl is here. One sec. What? Put her on.
Not doctor. The Messenger Reveals thinks that Matt Powell is repulsive. John, the Messenger, and he's like that's not. So something that kind of confuses me is I guess the lack of inconsistency of Christianity between Christians. There are Christians that say that no true Christian supports LGBT people, and there are Christians that say, of course you can't be a Christian and hate anybody. So it's like,
like for me, honestly, and I'm probably gonna take the not so famous stance. I don't know the best way to put it. All right, so for me, honestly, like I would almost rather you be a Matt Powell than say a Christian that's going to tell a gay person, "Oh, it's okay for you to be gay as long as you don't be gay," right? Like
you can be gay, you just can't.
You can't act on being gay.
You can't do the gay stuff.
You're okay. You know, you can be in the church, whatever. It's gross. Just don't act on it. Like I find that almost more disturbing than just Matt Powell being like, you know what, I hate you.
There's somebody that I talk to fairly often who remarked on that. It's kind of the more, I guess, liberal Christians are a bit more annoying to him as they don't necessarily put forward their best foot, in that when you are talking to someone who's a radical evangelical, they're going to be fairly consistent with their message. They're not going to, offer concessions here and then try and reconcile it later. And I think that I understand definitely where he's coming from, even though the more, I guess, liberal Christians are easier to deal with. They're more palpable to have, in conversations. So.
Well, and to put that out there are a lot of Christians that just accept gay people into their churches now. Like I don't want to paint yeah. So I mean, they are coming a long way. And then you have your Matt Powells and you have your people like, right, yeah, just don't be gay and don't talk about it. But I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Go ahead, Drag. I'm sorry.
Also, you got some super chats there, man.
Yeah, really nice ones.
I really got off of my little thingy here. All right, awesome. Yeah, holy crap.
There's also the thing that bugs me when we're told the sexual lifestyle, the homosexual lifestyle, or whatever. I'm like, I'm bisexual. I don't have. My lifestyle is no different to anybody else's. I get up, I go to work, I have a husband, I have pets, I have a house,
an orgy,
that too. I mean, duh. So I don't live a different life to straight people. It's no different. So this whole I don't condone your lifestyle. You don't condone me what? Going to work and paying taxes? What the fuck lifestyle are you talking about?
I have the blonde hair lifestyle.
Yes.
People don't condone that.
I don't condone that, sir.
And I
really don't.
Your white headphones, Dr. Josh. That's the lifestyle that I don't condone because my headphones are black and red, and it's ridiculous. It's what's different are maybe our sex lives, and if you don't condone my sex life, I'm not fucking you, so don't worry about it. Like,
look upon my fields where fucks are grown. They are barren.
It's what I really don't understand. And before I forget, Heavy Holler, thank you very much for the awesome super chats. $5 from Heavy Holler, $10. Dragon Soccer in the house and worth $10 maybe. Definitely worth $10. But I that's one of the questions I don't get. And maybe Skyle, if you want to jump in, and anybody, Carlton, feel free to jump in. It's one of the questions I get a lot from Christians that I just don't understand. Like, they think that I'm different now. Like, no. In fact, like, I think my morality has grown since I've lost God. Like, I actually think about life and like there's no do-overs anymore, right? Like this is the one life that I have. So I'm trying to live it. I'm trying to write this book and I'm trying to do this YouTube thing. And like, what motivation do you have if you think that there's something else? Like, and I don't pretend to know if there is or not. Like, I'm one of those atheists. Like, I don't believe in, I believe in possibilities, so like, it's definitely a possibility. I hope to see my mom again. When my dad goes, I would love to see my dad again. I had a friend die when we were teenagers. I would love to see that guy again. I just don't think it'll ever happen. Like, I don't know. Like, it.
There's a point that I had made some time ago when I was sitting down. I was trying to think of, I mean, not necessarily a rebuttal, but trying to put into context what it is that atheists live for, because oftentimes we'll hear that, well, what do atheists have to live for if there's nothing in their afterlife to look to? And I've always kind of just dismissed that because it's like, well, you're just repeating this narrative. But after I sat down and I really understood what they were getting at, I said, you know what, this deserves a cogent point to kind of be put forth so that they do understand, because I think that some of them are just saying it, but others don't know. So I said, well, look, if you value what's here, what's right now, more so than the next person, then you're going to do everything in your power to make sure that there is something here when you pass. Because, hey, I don't know if there's something after this, so I'm going to make the best of this now.
Yeah, like you want to speak about immortality? Talk to me about Shakespeare. Don't talk to me about a sky god. Like you can't achieve immortality with actions done in life, and that's more of what I think about. Like, man, like, I've always said this. Like, one day I'm gonna be long dead, and somebody's gonna find a box of my writings, and my real name, not my Native American name, but my white Christian name, is gonna be known by everybody because it's brilliant, I tell you. But right now, I'm the only one that knows it.
He who runs with mouth. So, but no, that's a good point. It's like, for me, I said I wanted to make my mark upon the annals of medical history. I want to contribute somehow to the malady that is cancer, because it doesn't matter what you believe, it doesn't matter who you praise. Cancer is going to come for you one way or another. So if I can help alleviate that in some way, shape, or form, then I've done something with my life. Now, that's for me personally. And so I would hope that other people feel the same way, at least to some degree, so that we could possibly progress society and make it better than it was when we got here. But if someone is religious and they're more concerned with the afterlife, then I can't really say how much they care for this life.
Right. Yeah.
They really think that that's the end goal.
Well, and like, have they even read their like the like? Not very many people's getting in. Like I just don't understand how anybody thinks it's gonna be me. Like when I read the Gospels, I'm like, there ain't no way it's gonna be me.
It's one of the great paradoxes, I think. When I was in the Air Force for 10 years and I worked on the flight line.
Sorry.
Huh? Oh. That's all right. That's all right.
Oh yeah, I think that might be the third time Drag has
Drag
on my channel.
Did you serve, Drag?
In the Army, yeah.
Yeah. That's all right. He couldn't get in the Air Force. Okay. Surprising, man. You're pretty smart. No, man. I remember being down. It's a complete aside now, but I remember being down at Cherry Point, North Carolina, on a TDY and leaving my shift. That I think I might have been there an hour, going back to the Sheridan, and making $33 a day, and I'm stepping over the Marines who are sleeping on the floor, the concrete floor of the hangar, with their M16s, with the strap around their legs so that somebody doesn't snatch it, and they're making $3 a day, sleeping there. And I thought, this is why I'm in the Air Force, so yeah, I'm cool with it. Go ahead, say what you want. No, but it was one of the great paradoxes, because I remember I used to preach Christ all the time on the flight line, all the time. It's what I wanted to be known for. And one of the things that I used to say is, look, if we were on the C5, I wasn't over Air Force Base, so we worked on that big C5. If we're up in 30,000 feet in the air and all of a sudden the engines go and the plane's just plummeting toward the earth, are we going to try to fix the UHF radio? No, we're just going to abandon ship. Right. And that's the way this is, like this earth, it's going to be destroyed by fire. So why are we so concerned with like the environment and yeah, I mean, we've got to just abandon ship. We need to praise Jesus and get saved and, lead that. And it was like, that was the mentality. So environmentalism and, all those things are like, what?
You were Dominionist?
How you guys doing?
Hey, Scott. You were a Dominionist, Dr. Josh, where like we have dominion over the earth and don't worry about it because God's gonna handle shit. So
yeah, I mean this plane's going down, right? I mean, he's gonna come back. You read Revelation. I mean, it's it's all gonna get destroyed and remade. So focusing on doing things for the good of humanity. Wow, why would we do that? Because we just need to lead the lost to Christ. And when you lead, it's so funny because it's not funny. It's obviously really sad. But, when you think about morality and you think about doing good for those around you, that's very antithetical and the person that doesn't hold those positions is actually the one that's doing, as you guys have been saying, doing what's good for those around you and those that come after. So
Are you an atheist, Dr. Josh? Or you're agnostic, right?
Agnostic, yeah.
He's agnostic. One of the things that I think really got to me in my last video, I spoke to people that I was trying to speak to people that are hopeless. And Matt's people just start thumbs down, and like automatically, because Matt's people are commenting, and I'm like, how can you even call yourself Christian and do that? Like the Christians I know, like at least pretended to have humanity. like you don't even pretend anymore. Like you guys are just all monsters, and you support monsters, and you can't even see it. Like to you, this is great stuff. Like Sky, like I didn't get your answer. Like
What's up?
What? How do you see human beings, Sky? Like, how do you see human beings? Like, like.
Hello. How do I see
the homosexual question, man.
Okay. Well, there's a difference between moral ontology. If you're asking if morals are objectively exist independently by people, or if morals are merely just a mental construct of people and therefore inseparable from people. So morality is a distinction between right and wrong. So it could be moral epistemology, not to get confused with moral ontology. Moral epistemology is the study of moral knowledge and related to different types of phenomenon. So the homosexual question, I mean, obviously as a Christian, coming from my ultimate authority would be everybody has a fallen nature. It's not just homosexuality, but it's the drunkard, the thief, the sinner, the prostitute. And that's why we say that God has the power to change the lives of those people that were once like that, and now they turned from their ways and repented in Jesus' name, and now they're a different person.
Well,
but not every. Go ahead.
That's funny because Knock, when you went to prison, weren't you a Christian?
Yeah, like that's the thing that, like my mom's best friend. I've known this woman since I was 12 years old, and even back when I was a homophobe. She was not included in that because she was awesome to me. Always has been my entire life. And I don't think I quite understood that the other woman in the house was her wife. I thought they were like roommates for a long time. And these are some of the people that really led me out of my homophobia eventually. These people live normal lives. They had the same dreams. They want to, like right now, on the cut, like they're about to die, honestly. They're very old, frail people, and they just want to see their grandchildren thrive. And guess what heterosexual people want to do? They want to see their grandchildren thrive. Like it's the same thing, man. Like
life is no different.
It's the same thing.
The same. Skyo, do you have a job? No, I'm being serious. Do you have a job?
Of course, yeah.
I have a job. I'm bisexual. Do you pay taxes?
Okay.
I pay taxes. How about that?
See, this whole like Jesus and God thing comes in the way of you seeing human beings for being what they are as human beings. And I guarantee you that Jesus Christ that I read about in the Gospels, if he were alive today, if this character were alive today, you can say he is, but quite literally he ascended into space, and we know human beings can't live in space, but let's not get into that discussion. So I mean, we literally die in space, yo. But okay, beyond that, if he were alive today, I guarantee you he would be pro LGBTQ. The Jesus I read in the Bible, I would think would be smart enough to automatically like advance with the 2,000 years of information, right? And he would come to the compassionate conclusion that I as God have created all of you, and be you. Just don't kill people and rape people. Like, why are we so worried about people having consensual sex when so many people, religious and non-religious, and this and that and that and this, and are doing horrible things?
Well, let me ask you a question. Is it okay for let's say a little boy at the ages of 9 to hold another little boy's hand and have gay feelings at the ages of 7 and 8? Wouldn't it be bad for children?
That's not a gay man. That's a pedophile.
No. He's talking about children.
No,
He's talking about 2 children.
So say that again. I'm sorry.
Two 9-year-olds basically having
2
affection.
9-year-old boys.
Yeah,
No,
having
there's
affection.
nothing wrong
Is
with
that
that
wrong?
at all, Kyle. No.
I mean, when I was 9 years old, I liked girls. So
I know
what's
I
the
like
difference?
girls and boys
You
when
know,
I was
like, and this just goes to show that it's a boring thing. Like this is a natural thing that people go through. They're not going to like somebody that they don't like. I liked girls. I didn't like boys. Never wanted to touch a boy. But when I was 9 years old, I really wanted to touch girls. I did, and I have my daughter's 9. This thought terrifies me.
Have you seen Caitlyn Jenner?
What about
Obviously
her?
Bruce
Yeah.
Jenner.
And what
It
about
has
her?
become Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What about her?
and it's one of the few things I like about her because her politics are atrocious. I don't agree with her politics, but man, the bravery of being Bruce fucking Jenner. And then you know what? I'm not. I am me. I mean, I despise her politics, and I think she might be coming around a little bit. But
well, hold on.
man, I applaud her coming out.
Well, Raging, I'm curious. What does transsexuals have to do now with homosexuality? Because it seemed like a bit of a pivot.
They're part of the LGBT.
It destroys the family image.
Well,
Well, okay.
I think from a Christian perspective, it's all of a reprobate mind. But then you label me that. I mean, not you, Sky Out personally, but Matt Powell does. Ben the Baptist does. You know.
And that's fucking lunatic.
Well, hold on. What do you mean by the family?
Yeah.
What is the family
Yeah.
image?
Explain that.
Dad wants to be mother. Mother wants to be dad. Boy wants to be sister. Sister wants to be brother. So that destroys the family.
Are they not still
Okay,
family?
so. Well, hold on for a second. Let me.
Exaggeration. Like
No, stop. Please let drag.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
That's the world that's coming to now. We're not going to have dad and mom and brother and sister. It's going to be the same sex between everyone because everyone wants to be gender neutral.
Not everyone.
Hold on for a second. I just there's so much to unpack here. There's literally
I'm
so much to unpack.
part of that family, so I'm trying.
Do you have a problem with gender roles, or do you have a problem with people's identifying as certain genders? Because there's conflation here.
No, absolutely.
Okay, so because you just mentioned gender roles when in a conversation about people's orientation.
Sure. Oh, I said the family image.
Right, but that has to do with gender roles, not their actual orientation.
Sure. Okay.
Right, you know there's a difference, right?
Go ahead. What is the difference?
Okay, so I can identify as a woman if I want to, but I can still hold the position of a man.
Right.
That's something completely separate.
Okay.
All right. So if you're talking,
what I'm saying, if you have a psychological disorder like what Bruce Jenner did, and you've got
It's
a
not a psychological disorder.
So what's your evidence that it's the psychological?
let's let him finish. Let's let him finish first.
All right. Yeah.
Well, I don't mean to be rude or offending, but I am a Christian, and that to me, if a person through surgery and go through drugs and surgery and radical drugs to change their body to become a woman, I don't know if you consider that natural or unnatural, and is that damaging to children at the ages of young children when they see a man that's a woman? How does a little boy or little girl react? Is that good or is that bad? Is that accepted in the community?
Okay.
So go ahead.
Oh, there's a few things here because first you had mentioned the fact that you have somebody who is identifying as something outside of the normal paradigm and the effect that would have on someone who is young. Well, if someone who is young is being cultured in a way to only accept binary, then that might have some type of adverse effect. But there are plenty of societies that have practiced bigamy, polygamy, and various types of systems that has no adverse effect. But I would actually challenge you to find a society that practices these things, but then somehow also show that has a negative impact on like their psychological development, as well as what you had stated earlier about them having, and when I say them, transgendered individuals having a psychological disorder that would cause them to then do this. Is that something that you've actually read literature about?
The only reason I say psychological disorder is because statistically speaking, if you look at the suicide rates for transsexuals, it's a lot higher for them, and that's why we preach them the gospel, because we don't want them to do
you don't think stigma from society, constant ridicule, people like you saying that you are wrong for being you, doesn't have some role to play in high suicide. I just addressed this when it comes to atheism, isolationism, people rejecting you. These are all psychological traumas that are very hard to recover from. Now, we live in a secular society, but we live in a secular society that has been dominated for a couple hundred years by a Christian religion that would marginalize and stigmatize these people to not be themselves. Can you not understand the psychological ramifications of that? Can you not understand, just, I'm a Native American, right?
Okay.
So my people, and I don't claim full blood. I'm of mixed descent. I'm Irish and Native American, but my Native peoples, right? We have been systematically killed off.
Okay.
Killed off. 96% of Native American peoples have been exterminated from this country, right? So when you attack the marginalized, for me, I try to imagine myself the way that I am right now, born as a woman, if I would not do everything I possibly could be to become the human being that I really am. Now, luckily, I was born in this body and it's sexy. But if I wasn't, would I not want to become who I really am? And for me, it's hard to empathize on that level. It's hard to get there. And for a long time, I didn't, Sky Out. I really didn't. I looked at that and I'm like, ugh. But now I look at it and I'm like, that's a brave human being.
Can I real quick ask a question to Dr. Josh? So a lot of Christians like Sky Out are saying well, I'm a Christian, so this is wrong. And I'm a Christian, so this is wrong. Is there a biblical doctrinal obligation to marginalize and or persecute anybody LGBT, or are they just misinterpreting the script?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably a lot there to unpack. Hermeneutical approaches to the biblical text, I think, are what, of course, drive that. So, I mean, if you're asking if there are biblical passages that condemn homosexuality, yeah, I think there probably are. The problem with that is twofold. One, I think you'd have to make, you'd have to say that with the assumption that the original text of certain passages probably more than likely did not, and you're looking at later editorial redactions. But secondly, the Bible endorses slavery. So, I think that sometimes I wonder if trying to get at what some of these passages about homosexuality say sometimes can be not irrelevant, because obviously it's not irrelevant, but not necessary. In some ways, for the argument, not necessary, because there's no reason to to try to make the biblical text, the Hebrew Bible, not say things about chattel slavery that it says. So, yeah, I mean, I would say there are definitely passages, we talked about it earlier, like Leviticus 18. I think Dr. Dershowitz has a really good position there. Also, Thomas Romer in 2018 wrote an article where he makes the comparison between Gilgamesh and Enkidu in the various places that you see those two in Sumerian and Akkadian literary texts, and David and Jonathan, right? And of course, there's quite a bit of overlap. And the problem, I think, is that you don't have, number one, you don't have uniformity of what you want to say, doctrinal positions throughout the biblical text, right? So this idea that there is, from Genesis to Revelation, this uniform idea.
Well, there's also the historical record and the data points that fit the model. And there's various models and data points that would fit and may not fit and during the biblical, during the ancient Near East. And if you have those data points in the historical record, and you can fit any prophecy or any false god in that context, and it would fit the model exactly the same way. But that, to me, that would be abusing and misusing the text, because I wouldn't use that model at all. Use the biblical model for the record. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, if you presuppose that your interpretive approach, the inerrancy of Scripture, not yours, Sky Out. I'm just saying, if one were to presuppose, okay, the biblical text is the inspired Word of God, and in its 66 books, or if you're Catholic and you include other texts, that's fine. That's then that's going to drive your conclusion, and I think rightfully so. I think that's consistency. I don't think it's correct, but it's consistent. So yeah, sure, you could.
Are you drawing the connection to slavery and homosexuality and that conflict, the contradiction of the nature of God, and that's why you're agnostic, or?
Is that why I'm agnostic? Is that what you said?
Yeah, because you said like the slavery part kind of bothers you. Maybe that's why you're not sure if God exists, because it's contradictory to his nature. And maybe the homosexuality part you don't like. There's so many great people that are gay.
Oh no, I mean, I would say that my agnosticism is probably far more complex than that. But
yeah, I don't think, like, Dr. Josh, weren't you a preacher down in like the South?
Right.
Yeah, in Virginia. I mean,
yeah. So I mean, you don't come to agnosticism lightly. I wouldn't imagine.
No, I mean, if anybody wants to be bored for an hour and a half, you can, on our channel, we've got a monologue that I did called from, boy, what did we call it? From, what is it, sweetheart?
From the pulpit to the pool party.
That was evangelical to agnosticism, or agnostic and academics journey. That's what it's called.
Like, if you came out with Dragnot's answer, I was going to be like, no way.
Change that title to what Dragnet
So
said.
here's my thing, right? So in Native American tradition, right? So we have accounts from tribes for thousands of years, since probably the first Native Americans crossed that land bridge and came to this country, right? Of people in society dressing as women, and these people were accepted and treated as women. We have stories of transgendered people throughout the history of humanity. God created everything, if he existed, in the way that you, Sky Out, and other Christians, and I give you props, you're here, you're really outloaded, but like, God created everything. God created these people to suffer, right? And you're saying just continue to suffer. Don't become who you really are. And I don't understand how you can justify that.
Don't become who you are.
Yeah, like you're criticizing Caitlyn Jenner for becoming who she was, instead of legitimate things like her atrocious political policies that you probably actually agree with. I'm not going to pretend to know your political leanings, but most Christians tend to lean right. She would agree with most of the things you believe in. But you're going to criticize her for being the person that she is, instead of being this alpha male Bruce Jenner that she pretended to be for a long time, when you can't seem to empathize with that struggle she went through.
I don't mean
the struggle is everything.
Yeah, I didn't mean to criticize her. I was just saying the fact that he went through surgery and through drugs, and that was just
she went through surgery to become the person she always was. She was living a lie. She was I mean, this, you're talking about a person that was a gold medalist winner in an era when gay people, transsexual people weren't allowed to do that. He had to be Bruce Jenner for so long. And then, like, just to even come out and become Caitlyn in front of the entire world. like I don't like the Kardashians. I don't watch that garbage. But I will defend Caitlyn Jenner when it comes to this, even though I find her politics atrocious. I don't agree with much that she stands for. I'm a progressive. I'm against, like, the rich. it's like one of my core things as a human being. I'm against like really rich people that abuse their wealth, and the Kardashians are that. But I'm gonna sit here and defend her on this every single moment that I can draw a breath, because I can't. To me, it's just bravery, and maybe one of the greatest examples of bravery. And it's a person I don't agree with.
Yeah, no.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna just, I guess, go back to the whole lifestyle, like, homosexual lifestyle or whatever. I'm bisexual, so I'm married to a man right now. So to you, I'm okay, right?
As long as you don't act out on that homosexuality, Mark.
Right. So as long as I'm married to a man, I'm okay. But if I was with a woman in the exact same committed type of relationship, why is that not okay?
Yeah, I don't mean to make any accusations or judgments or to be rude or anything like that. We just have two different worldviews. I have a Christian worldview, and there's different categories that how we see the world.
Can you step away from the Bible for a second and give me an actual answer as to why you think that's not okay?
That's like me asking you to step out of your homosexuality. It just cannot be done.
Well, I'm not homosexual, I'm bisexual, first of all. And as
it's totally not the same thing. Totally not. But I mean, Scott, you're in the sport. You're here.
Well, let's hold on for a second. I want to give Sky a chance to kind of respond to some of this, because he's been
he's
from three different angles.
He's taking a brunt.
So Sky, I understand, you have your convictions, and so what you're expressing here is an extension of the things that you believe, because you defer to the Bible as your source of moral edict. Your moral barometer is based on the biblical text. Am I correct?
Well, not exactly. Let me clarify that. My argument is not that you have to believe in God in order to be a good person or to live a good moral life. There's a lot of people that don't believe in God that live great lives and live moral lives. The argument has nothing to do about believing in God. The argument is that without God, there isn't any absolute measurement or standard of right and wrong, and therefore everything is just evolution. Our moral values are spins off of socio-biological evolution. So that's all atheistic view is on moral values.
Really?
They're unwilling to accept the idea that anything is just in nature, and that's begging the question in favor of atheism. That's presupposing that atheism is true without any good evidence. So there's a circular argument for the only reason that believing in atheism is that they already accept a conclusion.
But I mean, like seriously, even with God though, like, do you need God to understand certain things? Like, like God created nerve endings, right? So we understand without God that if you like stab something into your flesh, that hurts. That hurts. So like, we don't want to feel that. So most rational human beings aren't going to inflict that pain we don't want to feel on other people. You don't need God for that. Common sense. I mean, common sense.
I think there's a lot to unpack within Sky Out, because he packed in a theory of knowledge. He packed in a particular, or it would seem to be one of a bit of normative ethics. He was edging towards physicalism there. He went more towards philosophical, philosophical naturalism. Thank you. Then when most of us don't really hold that.
Right.
I think
I'm definitely not a philosopher.
Well, yeah.
Although Drag has more than many times offered me to come in, and I'm just too busy getting his Discord. So I need to learn.
So here's where I kind of want to disabuse Sky out of a few things. I think that you've presumed a whole of a hell lot about atheists. The guy who actually just disconnected, Bartholomew Roberts, and I actually have two very distinct views on morality, and we're both atheists. And so just that simple illustration can show you that. I think that before you start asserting that, well, because someone says that they don't believe in a God, that they must also fit within this very myopic paradigm that you've kind of built there.
I mean, that's like me saying all Christians are the same when that's clearly not the case.
Right.
Basically. So yeah, I would actually approach the conversation from, okay, well, let's qualify. Well, Dragnot, what theory of truth do you subscribe to? Because one thing that you mentioned that I first picked up on is that you mentioned absolute truth. And it's my understanding that truth as a proposition is either P or not P. There is no absolute truth. There is no kind of truthy. There is no 1/4 truth. So I'm not even sure what absolute truth even means.
Right, exactly.
Well, how do I know that God exists? I would say the same way by you do, by his revelation. So unless you start with God, you cannot know anything. How do you account for truth, reason, or logic without God?
How do you make that determination?
Can I jump?
Yeah, go ahead.
Tag, you're it.
Yeah, sorry. So you made 2 interesting statements there. The first one is that we know through the same way that you do. Okay, so I'm guessing you're proposing some type of theory and knowledge here in which one can accept or can hold a position of knowledge,
or
but yet lack of belief.
Sorry, go ahead.
Belief in something. Repress something like a belief.
You're cutting out. I didn't get that.
Yeah, Sokka, you need to get back to your sock account because you're cutting in and out.
So Sokka, if let me know when you're ready. I'll fill in until you get into a better spot.
Yeah,
So when you're talking about a theory of truth, I think
okay. Well, sorry.
Yeah, he's on his way home. When you talk about truth, right? You're presupposing that other people need these presuppositions to somehow interact with the world and to determine what is true. In reality, that's something that you have a priori established. But if I tell you, well, how do I know that this bottle no longer has water in it? There, at no point in time do I need to presuppose a deity to determine what corresponds with reality, unless you can determine or illustrate to me where would God need to come in this equation for me to determine the truth of whatever is in this bottle.
Sure.
Okay. Can you hear me now, guys?
Yeah, that's a bit better.
So
okay, good.
My response would be your question assumes truth, which assumes logic, which presupposes reason, which assumes knowledge, which presupposes an absolute standard who is God. But for you,
not true. No, hold on. Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there. Okay, because that's what you just said. There was a whole lot of hogwash. It's actually not true.
Yeah.
You know, because the first thing that you got to do is you got to stop trying to prescribe what different people's other people's epistemic frameworks are. You know, did Drake say that he was a foundationalist and he laid out what the presuppositions that he holds or the properly basic beliefs of his system was? I mean, how do you know that he's not a foundherentist or a coherentist in those cases there? I mean, what other epistemic frameworks do you know about that exist that wouldn't have to start with the presupposition of something? Okay? You're coming in here trying to tell somebody what their epistemic framework is, and you're putting a lot of claims out there that you want people just to kind of admit and just try to, give into. How about this? How about we start off with the basic claim right there? You started off with one, is that your worldview, I'm guessing the Christian worldview of revelational epistemology, is the only worldview which can account for logic. Okay? Now that's a positive claim. I want you to demonstrate how every other worldview fails. To provide the tools of intelligibility.
Okay. Well, my response would be like, you can't start with knowledge, truth, or logic unless you start with God, which is the foundation of all.
You're just reiterating the claim. I'm asking you to justify this.
Well, what I'm saying, you cannot justify where your knowledge claims come from because you cannot justify.
You don't even know what my position is.
Tu quoque fallacy.
Okay. You don't know what my position is.
Well, that's not a tu quoque fallacy.
I'm asking you to justify your claim.
That's not a tu quoque fallacy because I get my knowledge.
Here, I mean, listen. If you can't validate the very premise that you're trying to put out here, why should I take you seriously? Anything? What if I told you that I was let's say for example that I was a coherentist? Okay. What would you say then?
Could you describe the way that you're that way?
Oh, hold on, mister. Come on. You have everything all figured out.
Wait, hold on for a second. Sokka. Kyle, do you know what he means by him being a coherentist?
I didn't catch the last part. Now, go ahead. What do you mean by that?
Well, no. Do you know what I mean by coherentism? Because you said that your worldview is the only one that does this, which I'm assuming is you've taken a detailed analysis of every other worldview out there and other epistemic frameworks out there, and I'm asking you, how does this hold up against somebody who argues from a position of coherentism?
I'm not too sure, but basically,
okay. So how about this? You just don't know what you're talking about. You're repeating buzzwords here.
I don't.
Can I interject for a second here?
Well, I don't think you got the part, Sky, out where Dragnot pretty much told you did not want to come in this hangout.
This is the problem with people who are precept. They don't know how to handle coherentists at all. This is exactly what we laugh at, because the second people, that's why I didn't tell him that I'm a foundherentist. He presumed that I was a foundationalist, and he presumed that Bartholomew was a foundationalist, and neither one of us are. We don't have presuppositions in the same way that he pretends that we do. I, to some degree, will have some, and I'll offer no justifications for properly basic beliefs because they're properly basic. That's ridiculous. But as a coherentist, he has none. So if you're presuming that at any point in time that Sokka has a presupposition, you are not accurately depicting his position as a coherentist.
So let me get this straight. So if he's going to say that they're based on his axioms that are not truth claims, they're not knowledge claims.
He doesn't have axioms. That's literally what he does not have axioms as a coherentist.
Then I agree. Then all he has is subjective assumptions to degrees of knowledge.
No, it's not subjective at all.
Hey, Skyo.
No. So let me ask you one question.
Hold
okay,
oh man.
Hold on with this one guy. Okay, sorry.
Okay. You're fine. I don't want to interrupt anyway.
So with these conversations here, okay, let's try to. I'm not trying to do this to be combative. What I want to do is I want to disabuse you of bad ideas, and that's what you're full of right now. You're full of bad ideas. Okay. You have a philosophical toolkit that's incomplete, and you try to assert things out there without actually having any knowledge of what the topic is at all. Okay. Now I'm not an expert in this at all. Okay, I'm not like a professional philosopher or anything, but I can tell you that I've done probably a little bit more cursory reading of the topic than you have. Okay, and I would recommend like that if you are interested in actually starting off the conversations about epistemology, go out and read some Bonjour. Okay, he's got a great book out there on epistemic problems. So you can find stuff like that, and it will go over all the different type of epistemic frameworks that are out there. But to the very first part here, let's just assume that I'm no spring chicken here, and I've done this for a while. The very thing that you try to put out there, the fancy wordplay that says that your worldview is the only one that can account for the tools of intelligibility or rationality or laws of logic. Okay, and that's a talking point that is used by a lot of people. A lot of people that are actually don't even represent the arguments properly. You're not going to find a lot of.
Sweet Jesus!
Oh, sorry.
My bus, God, man! Oh, please!
Sorry. You're not going to find a lot of people. You're not going to find a lot of people that are going to, especially in the professional kind of presuppositions, people that have read about the stuff, like Bonson or Van Til, that would hold and advocate a position like that. Do you know why it's necessary for you to say that the Christian worldview is the only one that can account for the tools of intelligibility? Do you know where that comes from?
Go ahead.
I'm asking you. You've heard it as a buzzword, but where have you ever actually done kind of an analysis of that to see whether or not that is even true for yourself?
I'm not exactly too sure. I didn't catch. I heard a lot of noise in the background. I didn't hear half the things you were saying, so I do apologize. Could you just narrow it down to one question?
Okay, sure. I'm sure that you've heard it, because all preceptors have heard this, and they've all kind of presented this argument, where they say that their worldview is the only one they account for the tools of intelligibility. Okay. Where did you hear that from, and how do you know that that's true?
I didn't hear it from anyone. Those are just arguments that in conversation that they don't really pertain to where I heard it, or it's just a way of having a conversation in the context of different worldviews and the categories of worldviews. That's the clash where we're experiencing right now. You're an atheist, right? I think this is the first time we talked, so I don't know how you're saying you've heard everything I said from before. So,
because it's not new. You're not original. You're not a special flower. I'm sorry.
No.
Okay. Well, I am totally a special flower, but
so let's look at it this way, okay?
Undefeated.
Let's put this out there, okay? Now, you said that this was an argument. Well, I beg to differ, okay? To say that your worldview is the only one that can account for tools of intelligibility is not an argument. That's a conclusion of an argument. Now, what I'm asking from you is I'm asking for the argument.
So you're asking me why the argument for the what do you call it? The rational intelligibility of the I was going to say universe, but I forget where you're trying to go with
the conclusion that God is needed to be presupposed in order to have intelligibility. That is a conclusion. If you were to pull it in a syllogism, it would be a conclusion. What are the premises that lead to it?
Okay, the premises would be, thank you for clearing that up, by the way. The premises would be, my view is that there is no amount of concrete physical reality that is self-explanatory. So when you see intelligibility, you assume intelligence behind it, and you see the entrance to the history of God to himself. So there's that intelligibility, you assume that intelligence behind it. And so there is no amount of concrete physical reality that's self-explanatory. So whenever you see things in intelligibility, you assume that there's a mind behind it, just like in the universe. So in the universe, there's a rational intelligibility of the universe that is supernatural and existential. So God is transcendent. There's intelligibility from him and intelligence from him that's rational, intelligible from the universe, that he has a supernatural existence, and it's transcendent. So there is no amount of concrete physical reality that's self-explanatory, that when you see intelligibility, you always assume intelligence behind it, and you see a mind behind it, and so you see God.
I gotta cut you off. All I'm hearing are a lot of just claims and just conclusions. I'm not hearing
no,
any
Carlton, this is literally the longest tautology I've ever listened to.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's like it sounds like a really word salady Jordan Peterson Kalam cosmological argument. That's what I'm hearing.
So
you don't have to like it.
Well, no,
it's not that I never said about liking it or not.
Well, the amount of times you had to say assume in that should have been a tip off that because you've made these assumptions a priori, that you somehow then apply that to everyone else as though that's the most parsimonious way to approach this. But if I were to take out, like, what about what you just presented, right?
Yeah, I mean,
needs to have those assumptions built in there in order for you to operate as a human being.
Scott, like I
just want to point out as well too that there wasn't really an argument. What that was a extended way of saying that God is the necessary preconditions for intelligibility.
Exactly.
Yeah, like Scott, like I straight up try to tell you in our debate on modern day debate, because you try to presuppose like I'm this atheist and this and that, and I'm like, dude, no, I just rage, man. And sometimes I rage about good stuff, sometimes I rage about bad stuff. Right now, you are talking to people that know how to combat you exactly, and
that's fine.
Like, but I really want, real quick, just really need to get the super chat in because it is important. It's a $20 super chat from Heavy Holler, and he says, if he exists, created or allowed me to be born gay. It's not a choice. Being gay, I'm at risk for being treated badly, persecuted, or even killed. To top it off, I'm doomed to be tormented for all eternity. What the fuck? And I can
chime in on that? Can I chime in on that?
Same. Go ahead, one guy. I'll say something after.
Yeah, you've been patient, this one guy. Go ahead, but I
go ahead.
Real quickly, I don't want to get off the point that Dragnot and Sokka is trying to hammer home. So yeah, let's go for it because you've been patient. But let's get back to the point they're trying to hammer home here.
We will. Skyo, so let me ask you this question: are you saying that homosexuals, or let me just sum it up with the LGBTQ, they're not going to heaven because of the way they are? Is that what your worldview is and the take on that? That they won't understand?
No, a gay person can go to heaven, but they have to be a non-practicing gay person. There's many.
How do you say non-practicing? What does that even mean?
I mean, I seriously said at some point during this live stream that I find Matt Powell to be somewhat more likable than people that say exactly what you just said.
Like, how is that even a thing, man?
Oh my God!
Like, you can't. That's not. You can't just have people come to Christ saying they're going to be gay. Let me read you something. This is something I wanted to read to you. It's Matthew 19:11-12. Okay. Not everyone can accept this word. he replied, but only those who have been given. I'm sorry, I'm really tired. I'm terrible at reading. For there are eunuchs who were born that way. Others were made that way by men. But still others live like eunuchs for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. The one who can accept this should accept this. Now, that's the one thing I want to say. It's talking about what we're talking about exactly. There's people who choose not to produce seeds, and there's people that choose to live their way a certain life. It does not give them any right for us to say they can't live the way their life is Christ. As long as they don't have the sexual immorality to where it's in a sinful nature. And what I mean by that is it's more than what we would do mundane. Like it becomes an unhealthy obsession. Then it becomes a problem. Like I believe you shouldn't then necessarily have orgies. Orgies would be considered bad in that view. I think it should only be kept between two people. And as long as there's a foundation built on love, there is nothing wrong with it.
Hey, this one guy, don't be knocking on orgies, yo.
I was gonna say I'm cool with orgies as long as everybody's.
I'm sorry. Orgies are considered bad for me in that book because I think it has more to do with the love between one or two people.
Hit me up after the hangout, Marty.
I don't have a problem with it per se. It's just that I think when it comes to love and especially marriage, that infidelity thing, you should keep it between the two and keep it within the house, or so to speak. Not like incest because that sounds nasty, but. Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Well,
it's just
but
for
to
that.
the biblical. I don't really see how even incest to a believer in Adam and Eve, for instance, how is that a thing?
Lot and his daughters.
Yeah,
it gets confused. I'll leave that question up for the Jews. As a Christian, I said that's not me. That's a Jewish thing because that's what happened back then. How am I going to say for something that happened back then? That's like saying your dog died 5 years ago. Your dog peed on my truck 5 years ago, but my dog is dead now. What am I supposed to do about that? I'm sorry, my dog peed on your truck.
If I can respond,
and real quick before we let Sokka and Drag go back at Sky Out, I just want to say for the record, I told Dr. Josh before this started, he wasn't sure when he was going on Scholar Fiction. I was like, dip out when you need to dip out. So that's why Dr. Josh left without saying anything. So, but
I still am supposed to go on for Scholar Fiction too. My bad.
He did on the side. If you look, he said he's going to hang out with the wife.
Oh, all right. So probably before, because it was later than it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I put a video about it. It's called For the Love of Eunuchs. I made a video on my tube about it, but I don't think I did such a good job, and I put it on private. But if you all want to check it out and listen to what I have to say about the matter, you can. I'll make it on private, and so everyone can view it. But I try to go over it and how people like Matt Powell, who thinks homosexuals are going to go to hell and burn forever. I was like, you're misguided. You need to stop because that's not preaching love. That's preaching hate. And Jesus wants us to preach love and hate, and that's what it's about. Even when people hate you,
this one guy, me and you have a lot of disagreements. But if the godless and the God-fearing are going to coexist in this world, then this is an issue that you and people like you really need to hit home in your communities, because we are never going to accept the homophobia, and to us
it's not true. It's not true. It isn't.
It's just I lived in that fucking closet. I can.
No one should be scared of God anyway. To be honest,
I lived in that fucking closet, Sky Out, and it's not the same closet, and I get in a lot of trouble when I compare the two, and I'm really not, because I completely understand that the homosexual closet is much different than the atheist closet I lived in when I was afraid to talk about what I was, but.
I feel you, man. I'm in the same boat right now.
I'm kind of on a time crunch right now. I only got about 15 minutes.
But can we get back? I want to get back to you, Sokka. So please go ahead, because don't get me ahead. But I did want to get back to you and Drag's point here, because it's an important one, Sky. I try to warn you somewhat about this shit when we debated on Modern Day Debate. But go ahead.
Hold up, I just want to say one thing. I'm going to dip out too because I got a lot of things going on over here. I just want to say it's fun. Rage, I want to talk to you more. I want to have a little one-on-one with you.
Yeah, we need to have
a message you about that.
There's been a lot between us, and we need to air out some shit. So yeah, definitely.
Perhaps I can have you on my channel. I'll schedule up, but I'm gonna bow out. Everyone, I love you. I hope you guys check me out, and I hope you all take care. All right, bye guys.
Have a good
Love
night.
So Sky, like I said, it's without being combative here. We're not trying to be competitive here, but let's just try to start from like the beginning here. Let's just try to evaluate your epistemic framework.
Are you an atheist first?
Pardon me?
Are you an atheist?
I am. Yes.
Okay. So you would subscribe to evolution and like Richard Dawkins' atheism, right?
Well, I don't subscribe to Richard Dawkins' atheism. I don't think that I'm not sure what a Richard Dawkins' atheism is. Okay.
There's no such thing, Kyle. There's no such thing.
Who would you give a reference of who's your favorite atheist?
What does it matter?
Well, because I have like say, all right. I'm gonna put this.
Hold on. I'll answer it.
Go for it.
My favorite atheist is Dragnot.
Yes, mine too. Yes.
Yeah. He's an atheist. He's a pretty cool guy. I get along well with him. So
I'm not gonna lie. I've been public on Twitter. My personal atheist right now is Telltale Atheist. There's not a Telltale Atheism.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the question is. Like, but I mean, yeah, I'm an atheist. I like other atheists. I like Christians. I like a lot of people, and I'm also one of the people that's very critical of a lot of atheists as well, and their style of argumentation, you know. And I appreciate any type of correction from other atheists and Christians when I get something wrong. You know, I'm pretty open to that stuff.
So when you ask me what happens when you abandon God, you abandon moral reasoning and you move away.
Oh no! Listen, hey, we can skip ahead to like the moral arguments then too. But I mean, I think that we're probably going to run into pretty close to the same problem. Like, if I was to say that I subscribe to a version of ideal observer theory, you know, what would you say to that? That like I'm a anti-realist, but I'm still a universalist.
Okay. Well, okay. You basically you're a compatibilist, right? You'd basically be a compatibilist. You're a universalist, compatibilist, and so you believe in both. Basically, a compatibilist of evolution and
stop being an evolution. Oh my word.
Yeah, I'm not sure where evolution comes into this. It's not even required for that. But I mean, do you want to go back to talking about epistemology, or you want to go back to ethical frameworks?
Well, I just want to ask you a simple question: where do you think that humans came from?
What do I think? Like me in general, or just like humans as a product of evolution?
How about y'all stick with the philosophy while Sokka has time, and I'll answer the science questions after he's done.
Yeah, Drag will have you on that shit.
So so the question is like, okay, so it comes down to epistemology. There is there a certain epistemic framework that you think that you subscribe to?
A systemic framework. Epistemic framework. The only framework that I would subscribe to would be the proper context of biblical hermeneutics and exegesis from my main authority of my category, my worldview, which would be Christianity. So your worldview would be
maybe I should clarify. Well, because like my worldview isn't atheist. My worldview is Bartholomew Robertisms. Okay. Like my worldview is a set of beliefs that I hold. It's the set of beliefs.
Is his worldview.
Yeah, or the sock account worldview, or the Bartholomew Roberts worldview. Doesn't matter. It's just basically the set of beliefs that I hold to is my worldview. Okay, and we can discuss individual beliefs in there. That's fine, but I don't have an atheistic worldview. I have a worldview that does contain atheism, but it's not an atheistic worldview.
Just to put it out there, you know, me and we just had a disagreement on political issues not too long ago. We argued for hours, and guess what? It's cool, dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm trying to get at here, okay, is that just from because you brought up the theories of knowledge here, okay. So I'm just asking you, what kind of theory of knowledge do you subscribe to?
Revelation from God.
Okay. So can you explain to me now what it is within your theory of the revelation of God, okay? How does that work to get you to knowledge? Like what's the methodology that's involved in this?
Through the logical absolutes. So we have something called logical absolutes, like the law of non-contradiction, the law of excluded middle. So something can't be something and be not something at the same time.
Okay, fair enough. So what you're so what it sounds like here is that like you have a starting point, okay, and your starting point that you're putting out there is, for example, the logical absolutes, okay, that's fine, but you're just saying that this is revelationary from God, and that's just, I mean, I'm not sure why that step's needed in here, but let's just go with, it sounds like you're almost kind of advocating for a type of foundationalism, okay, is that you have certain presuppositions that you start with, properly basic beliefs, and then you build up knowledge on top of this, like a reverse pyramid, like starting with your presuppositions that you do hold, you can have knowledge claims further down the road.
Sure.
Does that kind of, fit the shape of what it means?
But the problem is when you say I start with my presupposition, how do you know your presupposition is valid or true?
I don't have a presupposition. I'm a coherentist. I think that your entire framework is kind of wonky, but that's beside the point. We're talking about yours right now.
Well, you said you're a coherentist, but how do you know being a coherentist is absolute, since you don't believe in anything that's absolute?
Why does there have to be?
What do you mean absolute? Like unchanging? Like, are you asking like that?
Like the laws of physics.
Yeah, it coheres. I mean, listen. Like, if you want me to unpack like all of coherentism, I would actually probably recommend that you take a dive into it. Understand some of it, so we can get past the questions that really aren't relevant to the conversation. But let's go back to your epistemic framework here, okay? So you start off with certain presuppositions, okay? You said that the logical absolutes is one of those things that's you start off as a presupposition, or would you call that like a properly basic belief in your worldview?
No, that wouldn't be. That's just one argument of what we're talking about in this category of very low category, what it means to even find a creator and to believe in God. This is basically. When you say that you know something, okay? Yeah.
Okay. What does it mean to know something? Like, first off, let's start off with, is knowledge a subset of belief?
Is knowledge subset of belief?
Right. Like, that all knowledge claims are also belief claims. But not all belief claims are knowledge claims.
I wouldn't say that, because knowledge claims to be facts. They don't have to be beliefs.
No, but so do you know what is a belief? Okay, let's strip this right down. What is a belief?
A belief is something that is you hope for, that it's true. It could be also scientifically proven.
No. Okay. No. So that's when we talk about beliefs. That's not really what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's any proposition about the state of reality that we think is true.
Like you say, I believe that there's a sky. That can be scientifically proven.
Yeah, but when we talk about a belief has to be relationary to some aspect of reality, generally in some type of affirmative affirmation of it. So like, I believe that I'm sitting in my car. It means that I think that there's a state of reality, like a state of affairs in reality, in which the statement I'm sitting in my car is true. Okay, a belief is just any proposition about reality that you think is true. Okay, so if you're to advocate for something, you say I believe this. You're putting out kind of an idea that you think corresponds to reality. Like that's kind of what you're getting at usually, especially if you subscribe to like a correspondence theory of truth. Okay, now when you go for knowledge, okay, now a knowledge would still be a proposition about reality that you think is true. Plus, there's going to be some other factors that come into it that separate that statement from just a mere belief. So, when you talk about a belief, like, would you agree that talking about a belief is just referring to any proposition about reality that one thinks is true?
I wouldn't say one thinks it's true. I wouldn't say you say one thinks it's true, because that could be a deception or an illusion. You could be delusional if you just say, well, I think that's true. I just think that's true.
Well, yeah, you could be delusional. Beliefs don't have to be true. Right. It has to be what you think is true. Right? So I account for that within the definition.
Do you believe that God revealing things to you is a false belief and that's not true?
I believe it's an unfalsifiable belief.
So it's impossible that God can reveal things to you. You know that for a fact. You know that.
I know that God can reveal things?
How do you know that God can't reveal things to you? How do you know that?
You know what, Ben? You're talking Greek right now because you haven't provided any type of methodology in which you even know things separate from beliefs.
But you said
that's what we're trying to get to at this point in time.
You just You just said you have knowledge.
Yeah, I do have knowledge, but we're talking about your worldview here. We're talking about your epistemic framework, and it's taken a while just to even get to the point where we can even make a belief claim about understand what a belief claim is from you. So what we're trying to get to is that, so I can, answer these questions is when we're talking about knowledge compared to when you're talking about belief, what is the separation between these things?
My knowledge comes from revelation from God, just like you do, but you're suppressing that knowledge in sin and in unrighteousness.
Right. Yeah. But so this is the part now where that's just a claim. You're just throwing this out there, like kind of like a toss away whatever thing.
Okay. You have knowledge that my claim is false.
Well, but here's the thing: is that like now you're just shifting the burden of proof. What I want you to do is I want you to validate your claim.
I want to see.
No, I want you to validate your claim. You made a claim that I'm suppressing something in my unrighteousness. Okay, can you validate that, or are we just going to throw out empty assertions all night?
I can validate it because you're basically saying that it's impossible to God to reveal without any knowledge.
I never said that. I said that it's unfalsifiable. Oh, hold on a second, Skylar. Before you jump in here and start trying to assume what I'm thinking here, maybe you should listen to what I said. I said that it was unfalsifiable. Like I don't know what this means. Plus the other part that I have. No, hold on, Skylar. Hold on. Okay, I never said it was impossible. Okay, what's happening is you're trying to fall into a script now. All right. No. Now I never said it was impossible. I said that it was unfalsifiable because I just don't even know what you're talking about right now. We haven't even set up the precondition of what it means for something to be considered knowledge separate from belief.
But you can't know everything.
Like 2 minutes ago, I had to explain to you what a belief was. Okay, can you explain to me what knowledge is and what's the line of demarcation between something being a mere belief and something being considered knowledge?
Revelation from God.
Okay, so how does this work? What's the methodology in which this happens? Does it get whispered in your ear, zapped in your brain? Like,
that's what I mean. When you say zap in your brain and whisper in your ear.
I'm asking. Yeah,
those are your degrees of knowledge because you don't know everything, so you're just kind of guessing of how God communicates to me. That's not.
I'm asking you. No, what I'm doing is I'm opening up the floor for you to explain how it is that you can come to knowledge about something. And so far, you just said so far all you've said is revelation from God. But what kind of revelation are we talking about? Special revelation here? Are we talking about natural revelation, general revelation? How many type of revelations are there? By the way, do you know?
It depends on the person and what kind of revelation you receive, based on your heart and based on your conscience.
So would it be special revelation?
It can be any type of revelation. It depends on you. It depends on your heart.
It could be okay. So it could be special revelation or natural revelation. Huh.
Sure.
That's interesting. Because special revelation would be, something that would probably be like a priori. Well, a natural revelation would be something that would be a posteriori. So how does that work with the the coming to the knowledge afterwards?
Well, I just don't understand how you automatically assume and have knowledge that God cannot reveal things to you.
Well, you haven't explained how it's even possible to begin with. I mean, you haven't even explained what knowledge is. Maybe we should start off with this, trying to get to the core of what you even mean when you say that you have knowledge from something. Like it seems like you're just kind of floundering here, and I just don't understand why.
Well, you have knowledge too, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I have an epistemic framework that I think is coherent, and that allows me to come to knowledge from something.
Is it possible that God could exist in the knowledge you don't have?
The knowledge that I don't have.
Yeah,
so are you saying that God only exists as a mere concept that I might not be aware of? Or does God actually exist in some type of ontological form? Again, that's just a weird question, the way that you phrase it.
I'm saying that there's a knowledge out there. There's maybe evidence or knowledge you're not aware of because you don't know everything. You're not God. So basically, if there is a possibility that God could exist and he could reveal things to you and you don't have the knowledge of that, could God exist?
Okay. So, I mean, that's a great point. So you're saying that God, through revelational epistemology that you're putting out there, can give you the knowledge that you don't have direct access to. Is right?
Through his word, yeah.
Sounds good. How many coins are in my ashtray right now?
That's retarded. That doesn't mean anything.
How is that retarded? I'm asking you to make a knowledge claim about something. Like, dive into your revelational epistemology. Have God whisper into your ear right now, how many coins are in my ashtray?
That's what do you think God is like the movie from Aladdin? He's Will Smith. That's not God.
Well, that's what you're saying. God is. You're saying that in order for you, you're saying that in order for you to gain knowledge about something, that this is stuff that's revealed to you by God. So we're putting this to the test. I have an ashtray in my car. It's full of coins. I'm sure God, who's I would say you would think would be omniscient, would know exactly how many coins are in there. So let's put this revelational epistemology to the test. Let's have God reveal to you how many coins are in my ashtray.
I think God would reveal if you had kidney disease, something a little bit more important than your coins.
Oh, okay. So that's what it is that God doesn't reveal all knowledge to you. You know, there's only some things that God can reveal to you, not everything.
Yeah, based on your heart. And
Oh, okay, great. Okay, so that's great. So the only stuff that you think that you can know is the stuff that God directly reveals to you.
Through his revelation, yes.
Okay, so what was the last thing that God revealed to you?
Through his word.
Like what, the Bible?
Yeah, that I have faith in Christ, that he can reveal. He's real. He exists. He's existential.
I think the question is, what has Christ revealed to you directly?
Okay, so I get it now. So when you say that something's been revealed to you, through special revelation, you're talking that as long as you take on the presupposition or the a priori kind of belief here that the Bible is true and accurate, then you can come to conclusions about the world. I mean, that doesn't seem like a very good. I mean, it starts with a huge assumption.
I'm not too sure where you're getting at from there.
I'm getting at the point that you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about, but that's
a
subtle point.
I think you're now getting angry.
No, this is not angry. This is actually hilarious for me. Okay, so let's start off this way. Let's start off this way. What if God reveals to you some knowledge, okay, and it takes something from being a mere belief to something that you know, and because you now know it, it has different characteristics from a belief. What are those characteristics?
It depends on the knowledge that you receive.
Oh, okay.
We're
trying to get a definition of knowledge here.
If I tell you, you're going to think I'm delusional because it's different from every person. It's different. Just like
it just seems that you don't have a coherent kind of example of what knowledge is. Like you can't explain to me what knowledge is. Well, it's based off of what you're saying right now. I said it appears that this is the case. Because when I ask you to try to define what knowledge is, or at least what the characteristics of some type of piece of knowledge is, you can't even do this. So when you ask me a question, for example, like if I know something, well, I think that I can know something, but let's try to keep this within your worldview. Like I'm going to base my knowledge on the way that you kind of translate this to me. So if you can give me a definition of knowledge, well, then I could definitely understand whether or not there is something that I know. But I have to have some type of characteristics of that knowledge. So if you want to get to the point where you ever want to ask me a question about whether I know something, you have to give me a definition of what it means to know something.
Okay, I'm giving you a definition to know Jesus. There you go.
That's not a definition, that's a claim.
That's not a definition at all. Do you know? I'm sorry. This I don't mean to make this sound embarrassing, but do you know what a definition is?
No.
Okay. All right. I mean, there's really not much we can go on here.
Yeah.
How about this? Like, have you ever heard, within the precept videos there, like people talk about like justified true belief?
Yeah, that's that side 10 bullshit.
Okay. Now, why is that bullshit?
Well, because there's different types of beliefs. There's evidential beliefs. There's different kinds of beliefs that you can get. There's historical beliefs. So you don't always
that's fine. They all fit in the same category. Remember what I said? What's the definition of a belief?
A belief is that you believe that it's going to come true.
Do you know how nonsensical it is to try to define something by using the very word you're trying to define?
Yeah, but you're basically saying things that you don't know.
I mean, how do you do this? Like, how do you jump into these conversations and try to talk about, epistemic frameworks and not have the foggiest understanding of what you're even getting into?
I don't see your point.
I know, which is
He's got
sad.
God, he's got God behind him, so he thinks he's invincible. I'm joking. I don't know.
Well, you know what? Hey, Skyout, listen. Drake's gonna give you a link to a Discord server, and feel free to come in anytime, and we can go over this, and maybe we can set you right. Okay?
What are you talking about? Set me right. I'm not going to be an atheist. What are you talking about?
Oh no, this has nothing to do with atheism. Oh God, no, jeez. Like I don't want to turn you into an atheist.
No.
Okay. I don't think I have. There's nothing within my desires that wants more atheists in the world.
I don't see your purpose or goal.
Well, what I want to, my goal is to help you. Okay, I'm a nice guy like that. Okay, so if you ever want to go in here and we can start off with like the basic understandings of this conversation.
Have knowledge that God reveal things to you.
Yeah, I've already kind of addressed all this. It's kind of repetitive at
I'm
this point in
curious,
time.
Sokka. This is painful, Sokka. I want to ask him one question. Okay. I know you got to go. Sky out. Does Sokka have axioms?
Yeah, they're based on necessary truth claims for knowledge.
Yeah, you see, he doesn't
even know why that's funny. That's what's hilarious about this. He doesn't even know. That's what's funny. Okay, that's all.
Oh man, I know. It's sad.
So what if he has axioms? They're not true.
No, the point is, what Sokka was offering is that you know very little about epistemology, but you're trying to tell him what his position is.
I don't have to know everything about epistemology.
No. It's not everything. It's not everything. I mean the basics, literally the basics about epistemology. This last the last 30 minutes was him teaching or attempting to teach you basic philosophy that you would learn in any Christian university, any secular university, because you don't understand. That's part of the problem. You have no idea what you're talking about. And every time he tried to qualify the statement, you got upset because you don't actually know what he's saying. You have no idea.
You sound pretty upset right now, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear. It's clear that you were way out of your league. But dude, it's fine. It happens. It's not a big deal. That if he's willing to take time out of his day and to go over like some of the basics, because what you're attacking.
I'm not trying to win a debate right now. This is not.
No, I know it's not. Yeah. I know it's not winning. Trust me, you're far from that. But just having just understanding.
I don't care.
It's obvious. If you want to tell,
why do you not care? Well, why is it that I'm curious. Like, why is it that you don't care about having a good framework in which that you can actually accurately explain what it means to know something? I mean, if you don't care about this, then why is it that you even try to appeal to knowledge at all? Like, it seems ridiculous that you want to try to attack people for their knowledge positions, but yet you don't care about what it even means to articulate a knowledge position. That's just weird.
Well, everything you say is diatribe nonsense. So
really, that's it's funny because if you were to actually play this clip to anyone who has spent any time in a philosophy course, they would tell people do care because it's clear that you're upset. It's clear that you're agitated because you are, because you cut me off now. You didn't do that earlier. Now you're cutting me off because you know that what we are.
You should calm down, buddy. Calm down. It's okay, man.
It's not a big deal. Like it happens. Like it's you stepped into the ring with folks who know a little bit more than you. I've done the same thing, and I've made an ass of myself. I'm the first person to tell you. But the problem I see with a lot of folks is that you won't take a step back and actually say, you know what, the stuff that I'm saying to this guy isn't going through, and I have no idea what he's talking about when he's mentioning these things. That means that there's a disparity between our knowledge. And so if I'm asserting these things and there's nothing penetrating, I'm not understanding what he's saying, I need to rectify that in some way, shape, or form. So before you start telling a coherentist that he has axioms, you may want to understand why we all just laughed at you.
Because big deal, he's a coherentist. He cannot.
Do you know what that is?
Axioms? Do you actually understand why that's funny?
No one cares what that is.
Thank you. Literally, this is why Precept failed. This is why we laugh at Precept, because you guys are too ignorant to understand how much you guys don't actually know. Like I put a link in the side chat while he was mentioned, just to throw you a bone. I put a link in the side chat to coherentism just to help you out. Have you even bothered clicking on it?
What are you trying to help me with?
Understand what the fuck he's saying.
Yeah. See, now you're cursing. I'm a Christian. I don't respond.
Okay, so to understand what the freak he's saying, is that better?
Jesus Christ!
I don't have to use the fruit loop, but it's like, man, like you are so upset right now because you've been made a fool.
I'm not cursing. You're the one who's cursing.
Okay, well, you can be upset without cursing too.
What the fuck does it matter if he curses or not?
I mean, if that's your measure of
because I'm a Christian.
Because you're Christian. Do Christians start interrupting people when they get upset?
Hey, listen, I do have to bow out though. Sky out. It's been fun. Greg, give him the Discord link.
I'll give it to him.
I'll talk to you. I want to talk to you later.
I do apologize if I was rude.
You weren't rude.
are being rude.
I mean, just obstinate. I mean, that's one thing. But
Yeah.
I heard you want to talk about
If I can
science.
just respond real quick.
Go
You
for
guys
it.
cut me
Please.
like 30 times. So, like, you cannot assume a definition is true and argue from that definition. It's a contradiction in terms. You're presupposing what you're saying is true using false definitions, and everything you say is logically inconsistent because you don't have an absolute standard. So your ramifications they just follow when you deny a personal God who is a moral first cause. The first one's very difficult to anchor an absolute moral law. So he's over here making knowledge claims, and he doesn't have any absolute standard of knowledge. So how does one arrive at moral reasoning, trying to explain the explanation of good and bad?
If I
So
may,
moral reasoning is a question of meaning, and how do we arrive at reality of meaning, and what meaning do we really attribute to life? Are we entitled to our own definitions or meaning? So why am I not an atheist? I simply cannot find a rational, defensible way for moral reasoning. And the fact of the matter is that our core are moral beings. Those that who deny God's existence, they invoke too much evil.
Okay,
and
dude.
Guy out.
Carlton wants to talk.
If I may.
Relax.
If I may, I'm going to help you out here. Please stop.
You're not helping anybody.
You're embarrassing yourself. No, I'm not joking. What Sokka was just doing, he was asking questions. He was merely asking questions of you, and hang on, Daddy's still talking, and you failed. You failed to stop. Daddy's still talking. You failed. You failed to answer those questions. But please visit. Please visit Drag's Discord. It is fantastic, and you will learn so much. Stay away from Darth Dawkins. Stay away from Sai Tinberg and Kate.
Just to be fair,
Please.
just to be fair. So when Nakasuchi came in, we beat him up a bit because there was a lot that he got wrong, especially when it came to philosophy. So don't think for a second that there are quite a few actually Christians in there who are my mods, and they are interested in kind of helping iron sharpen iron. And I think that if you do want to continue having some of these conversations with folks who are quite knowledgeable in epistemology, you will honestly have to learn some of this stuff. Like, there's literally no way that you can support the precept argument by claiming that every single person has axioms, because if at this point in time, if you don't understand why I asked you that question, then you can't put forth any argument for precept.
And to be fair to Dragnot, they were hard on me, and me as a person, I appreciate it, and that's what that's what you got to realize is we can be wrong, but are you gonna learn from it? and I want to thank everybody because my daughter had really high sugar. I had to do an adjustment shot, so it took longer than I thought. Thank you guys. I'm back now.
Is she okay?
What's up, man?
Yeah. So when it comes to trying to understand things about Sokka, because Sokka and I don't share positions, and I had made this point earlier. Sokka Count is a coherentist. I'm a found herentist, and so the way that we would both come to conclusions about knowledge are a bit different, and we do differ on quite a few other issues. But we're both atheists.
But you don't believe in God, and you're an atheist, right?
Well, yeah, that's one of the things that we do agree on. But when it comes to like our epistemology, they're actually quite different.
Okay, if you're an atheist, where did human beings come from?
Well, that's kind of a scientific question that really has no relevance.
So you don't know where human beings come from. You're making fun of me.
So if you're asking me for the lineage of Homo sapiens sapien, then we came from other hominid species that preceded us. Like how technical do you want me to get with you?
So basically, you don't know anything about Darwinian evolution by natural selection.
Are we seriously doing this?
I mean, I did tutor people in evolution while I was undergrad at my previous college. I might know a little something about it.
How did he get? So basically, you don't know anything about
I don't know how he made that pivot. I have no idea.
It's always kind of funny that people that deny Darwin, deny evolution, go to that level. You know what I'm saying? Like it's. I mean,
I am.
I wasn't here for the conversation.
How did he explain different dog breeds?
Right now that Dragnot understands the shit he talks about.
I mean, okay, just a simple question. How does he explain dog breeds then?
Who?
Dog breeds.
They're the same kind.
Yeah, they're
okay.
I never said evolution was false. I hope that wasn't.
and Boston Terriers and German Shepherds, right?
Yeah, dog never gives birth to a non-dog.
Is that how all the dog breeds got created?
Okay. I think we're talking past each other. Sky Out.
Okay.
Like, you never said you didn't believe in evolution, right?
Okay,
Go ahead, Drake. Never mind. I'll just mute.
So you are a theistic evolutionist, if that term fits. Am I understanding that right?
Okay. What I'm trying to say is that if you are an atheist and your mind is nothing but an unguided process, and you're just empty claims and empty assertions, are not real arguments, because just
how would being an atheist be an unguided process? Like, how would being an atheist? How would our minds processing be any different than your mind's processing?
It's just a chemical reaction. Everything you say, if there's no God, we came from evolution, which means that everything you say is a chemical reaction.
If you say there is a God,
hold on for a second. Hold on for a second. That's reductionism. I'm not a reductionist, so let's go ahead and get that out there. That's reductionism, sir. I don't hold by that. So try again.
Yeah, but you don't believe in an absolute standard of anything because God doesn't.
I don't know what absolute standard means.
Yeah,
what does that actually mean?
Anything.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
So exactly, you don't know what I'm saying.
But can you define what it is? Yeah,
that's fine.
I'll give you the link, and I can help you.
You can't define it right now.
I'll give you the link, and I'll help you.
So that's a no.
And only a Sith deals in absolutes.
So I understand truth as a proposition. It's either
I'm trying to help you.
Like, you came into a
deal with this
about
or
me
standing
talking
for
about
truth.
Matt Powell. Like, if you ever watched my fucking conversations with Matt Powell, this is like my biggest beef. Fuck absolutes. There are no absolutes. We weren't there. We don't know.
I want to understand. Well, I want to understand what he means. So if I say that this desk is hard, what is the absolute truth versus the truth of that claim?
Putting absolute after someone, or in that sentence, doesn't make it more true. It's either true or it's not. Absolute doesn't, like, you don't get an edge for saying something absolute.
I mean, seriously, I've had some girls say I'm hard, and some girls say, "What the fuck, dude?"
Well, I think I know where he's going with this, but I want him to, instead of me guessing, I want him to actually explain. If I say that this desk is hard versus the absolute truth of that claim, what is the difference between those?
Heavy. I just want to say heavy hard. You shit. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
There is no difference. What do you mean?
Really?
It's hard. It's absolutely hard. Why would you think there's a difference?
Because absolutely is not an adjective for truth. Like that. Like what? How is absolute truth a thing? It's either true or it's not true.
Okay, the words that you just said, is that absolute?
I don't know what that means.
What is absolute is I ate nachos tonight. That's absolutely true. I'm probably gonna be like in the bathroom, but like to say that, like, God is absolutely true. Hell the fuck no.
Okay, are you asking for my confidence in the claim?
No. I'm asking you. How about this? Is the laws of physics, is that absolute?
I don't know.
Absolute.
What are the laws?
You're giving me scenarios, and I'm asking you, what does absolute mean in that context?
Yeah.
Universally accepted in the whole planet.
So you're asking me, is it true?
So hold on, I believe he's saying totally true. Totally true.
The whole planet. So
That's
you're dismissing the atheist worldview that God doesn't exist because God is not universally accepted on the whole planet.
What 1 + 1 = 2, Sky Out? Is that true or is that absolutely true? It's the same thing. It's absolutely true.
It is.
More true. It's not more acceptable if you say, well, 1 + 1 = 2 is absolutely true.
I agree.
True, period. So you've been throwing the word absolute in it. It doesn't make it like bigger or better. It's true. Who gives a crap?
Yeah, 1 + 1 might equal 3 to like.
Hang on, guys.
But like to us humans, 1 + 1 is 2. So it's true.
Okay, so I'm trying to pin down rather than him give me additional examples. What specifically in the context of this conversation does absolute mean? Or if you are referring to my confidence in the claim, that is a separate question as to the veracity of the claim either being true or not true.
Well, if I get what you're trying to say, I'm basically saying that, like the laws of physics, it does not change. It's true, but you don't know how the laws of physics got here.
That's a separate question.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a different
Do,
thing.
do you know how the laws of physics got here?
No. Don't go off on that tangent.
Yeah, I'm not trying to go on a tangent. I'm not trying to go any tangent
Yeah.
because he's using the absolute as the crux
Yeah.
of his argument. But then when I just asked, well, if it's true or not true, you just defaulted to true. So
Right.
absolute in this context has no meaning other than also true.
I agree. It could mean the same thing, but according to you, there's no such thing as truth because there's no such thing as absolute.
When did I say that? When did I say at any
Yeah, I
point in time
don't-
that there's no such thing as true?
I've never said there's no such
It's
thing as
not
true.
a thing. Absolutely true is not a thing.
I just said I definitely had nachos earlier, and I'm definitely going to the bathroom later.
So at what point in time did I indicate that
Yeah.
I said that truth doesn't exist?
Because you don't believe it's absolute.
Okay, again, let me go back. I just asked, what does absolute mean? And you said it was synonymous with truth. If it's synonymous with that, then it has no meaning other than being a synonym for the same thing.
I'm saying the word absolute, like mathematics, physics, the laws of gravity, things that don't change.
Add absolute to that, Kyle. If it's true, it's true.
Other
equals 2. You don't have to add absolute to make that the truth.
You're not distinguishing. That's part of the problem. You're not distinguishing absolute truth from truth. And I'm asking you for that distinguish. What distinguishes it?
Oh,
Absolutely no absolutes. How about that shit?
That's funny. They can have necessary truths. Like you can just say subjective truths that would happen within your reality, within your day. That's not what I'm talking about. It's in a different context. I'm talking about like in science, the things like the laws of physics they do not change. The laws of gravity cannot change.
Like science is the ever pursuit of knowledge. You know, science is all right. This is what we think now. We're going to continue with that education, and we might think something different. Completely.
There's a quick way to say that, Raging Atheist. Everything is science we hold provisionally.
Yes, yeah.
That's a quick and dirty of it.
Yeah, so completely straw manning science there, you know.
Can we get back to
when you hear people say stuff like that, it's clear that they don't understand how the methodology works with that at all, because they're other than things that are for common parlance referred to as dogmas, there's actually no dogmas in science. All claims are provisional. With that, with enough evidence, they can actually change.
Yeah. So
that's something that a lot of these guys don't actually understand. And I love when we have these conversations because it kind of exposes what they believe science to be, while none of them have ever stepped foot in the lab. None of them have ever even looked into the philosophy behind, methodological naturalism or why it's even employed in the sciences.
Or they see it dragged out. Like this was my problem with Matt, and I called him out with this shit in our second debate, I believe, is like his whole seashells on top of Mount Everest, right? I'm like, you've researched this, so you've seen the evidence against what you're saying. You've seen the evidence that 50,000 years ago, natural climate change caused the polar ice shelf to slip into the sea, meaning that a certain part of the world was flooded. A certain part, not the entire world, but 50,000 years ago, a certain part of the world was flooded. And yes, there was water near the top of Mount Everest. Science has proven this. You've seen it, you ignore it. You completely dismiss it because it doesn't fit your worldview. That 6,000 year time frame. Yeah, it just blows my mind. You know,
I don't know.
You dismiss it.
I don't know a young Earth creationist that could actually describe how radio dating works.
I brought that up with Matt too. Yeah, and he kept going to carbon dating. I'm like, do you not understand that there are so many different methods of dating and they combine them all? Like, do you not like me as an amateur that just studied up on this debate? I understand this. You've seen it.
Ask them about carbon 20. Ask them if they heard of carbon 20 dating. Yeah, I heard of that. Really? Have you now?
Well, like I had Matt Powell straight up admit that carbon dating itself is accurate up to 50,000 years. And then when I pointed out, hey, in our first conversation, you kind of totally admit, oh, no, I didn't. So of course I had to edit that in from the first conversation. Like, dude, you're such a liar. Like you can't even admit when you're wrong. You just can't.
That's one of the funny things about some of these guys. They think that they understand philosophy. They think they understand science, but then when you pit them against someone who is fairly learned about some of these topics, they fail miserably. And so it's like, well, if your goal is to try and save souls, you can't save souls by being more ignorant than the person you're talking to.
Yeah,
I don't see that happening. And so just to kind of blow that off as if that's inconsequential, then that really shows that your insecurity is speaking and not your obligation as a Christian to try and edify yourself and be a great representative.
Yeah, like Christians never believe the fact that I've read the Bible as much as I have. Like, I guarantee you, most atheists, we have read it as much, if not more. we have done these in-depth readings of this crap. Like to dismiss that, you're selling yourself short. You really are.
Have you prayed, Raging, at all? Have you tried praying?
I have.
Who, me? Have I tried praying?
Yeah.
All right, so yes, I've spoken of this often. So I remember as a 17-year-old drug addicted Christian praying to God, praying and begging God to take away my addictions. And guess what? He didn't. Guess what I did? I kicked in doors, I stole guns, and I went to prison. And I woke up one day in prison and I looked around and I saw all these really bad dudes, right? Like, they killed. I mean, I was surrounded by murderers and rapists and pedophiles. And the one thing they all had in common, except a very select few, was they believed in a God. I woke up and I went back to my Native American spirituality. I found Wonka Tonka, the Great Spirit, and I got away from my Christianity. Oh, and guess what? I found peace. And then I went to Buddhism, and I was like really like just not so much Buddhism, but Taoism, you know, the journey of oneself. And I learned who I really was. And then I realized that I am all there is.
Raging, you said when you went to jail, you said all those people that believed in a God and they were murderers and rapists and things like that. Yeah. Do you believe that if God really existed, they wouldn't be that way, right?
That's not true.
No, I think that if God really existed, he made them that way.
Exactly.
Oh.
That's
and he needs to answer for that.
So God does exist then. God does exist.
No, I don't think that. I think the logical explanation is that human beings are human beings and we do messed up crap. And for at least 10,000 years, humans have tried to justify that messed up crap by saying it's this and not that. That's what I believe. I don't pretend to know or even stand here like I'm some great representation of knowing about what really happened. Because guess what? I'm 42 years old. I only know what happened in my 42 years of life. That's all I know for a damn certainty is that I saw my mom drink herself to death. And I see myself following in the same patterns. What am I going to do about that? That's what I think about.
So can I address something really quick?
Please.
I don't know if no, you know, I just have to side Sky out said, and I don't hate gays. I want them saved from their sins just like any other sin. And I said, you do realize people have used that excuse. You do realize people have used that excuse to kill gays, right? It's you know, they see it as a sign of mercy. You know, it's a mercy killing. We love you. You know, in order to cure you of your sin, we're gonna kill you and let God sort you out. Yeah, okay, fuck off.
Well, I'm not saying I don't think we should say that Sky Out has those views or is going to go there.
I don't think he does.
I think the point was that.
Yeah, I think Sky Out thinks that gay people should be gay people.
Yeah, I think it's interesting if you're so.
No, I never said he does. What he said. Never mind. Go ahead. Sorry for.
Can be used for that purpose.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, but I don't think we should throw vitriol his way because other people simply do that. But I think it is interesting that you want to see them saved. But when you were discussing the topic of epistemology with Sokka, you didn't really have an interest in trying to edify yourself in order to put yourself in such a position so you could save his soul or anybody's soul who is that learned on that topic. So I find it interesting that on the one hand, you claim that you want this for other people, but you don't want to put in the work to get there.
No, Jesus did all the work.
And there's nothing to say. There's nothing to save me from Sky Out. I'm good being bisexual. I'm not.
Even Will Kincaid is coming in with the super chat saying, "Go to bed, you're drunk."
You.
I started drinking to wake up, Will, and I'm waking up.
But I'm not a sinner. Sin is not a thing for me. I'm pagan, and pagans don't have the concept of sin. Even before I was pagan, there was no. I didn't have the concept of sin. I wasn't a sinner. I don't have to worry about that. So
sin. This is gonna play well into my theme this week. I introduced Paul and Morgan's concepts of sin, and I just like totally filmed. And I've got 3 more Paul and Morgan videos coming this week. Spoilers.
they're crazy. They kind of scare me.
Hey, Sky Out, man. Sin don't exist.
No,
it doesn't. We human beings are human beings. We do shit. Sometimes the shit we do is stupid, and guess what? Sometimes the shit we do is brilliant. It's what makes human beings human beings.
Sky, what you just put in the side, what you just put in the sky in the side chat. Where did you get that from?
Yeah.
This is basic.
I'm just reading this. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's my methodology, and it's something that I've put together as a good argument. It's not really where I got it from. It's in the community of Christianity. This is how we talk. This is how science is introduced from a Christian's perspective. This is pretty much a standard of how basic science would exist in the field of our Creator.
But why would you ask me to pray for you?
So here's what's interesting. I have quite a few science books in the next room. I don't find anything like that in any of them. What science book did you defer to find that?
Science book.
Yeah, dude, I have prayed. I just told you. I fucking prayed about drugs. Oh my god. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Woo. Yeah, there's many scientists. Like the scientist that I would use. His name is Professor John Lennox. He's a mathematician. He's a pretty good. He's a Christian mathematician. He's also a scientist. There's also.
How do you spell his last name?
John Lennox.
Yeah. How do you spell his last name?
Lennox.
Okay.
So
I'll put it in the chat.
So this mathematician who's a Christian gave you some type of information on the minds of atheism as told by a biology book?
No. This is
because you jump between this is how we Christians talk to this is what's taught in biology books, and then now we're on a mathematician.
Yeah, okay, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, that makes no sense because I asked you a specific question about where you found this.
And I know Christians out that don't talk like you, so there you go.
What?
I said I know Christians that don't talk like that, and they don't think like that, like you.
No, I didn't say all Christians talk like that. I was just referring to he asked me for source, so I gave him a scientific source for what I said in the chat.
You gave me a Christian mathematician. His opinion on how atheists think. Now, does any of that sound strange to you?
No stranger than an atheist giving you knowledge of telling why there's no God.
Okay, so if I'm listening to an atheist about what a Christian believes, does that sound strange to you at all?
No.
Okay,
why?
It should. Why would he know the mind of another person when he is not that person?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he's a scientist. He does debates. If you want to listen.
He's not a scientist. He's a mathematician.
Yeah, I would like to point out that the atheist could have been a Christian at one point.
But that's a little beside my point. Because at first you said it was a biology book.
Yeah.
Where's the biology book specifically? That's what you never answered because you jumped to Linux after I asked you where the book was.
There's many books actually.
Can you name one?
I'm trying to.
Okay, take your time.
Let's see. There's another book called
a biology book.
No, it's not a biology book.
Well, you just said it was in biology, didn't you?
It doesn't have to be a biology book.
So now it doesn't have to be. It was biology before, but now it doesn't have to be biology.
So you don't understand what I'm talking about, and that's why
you're talking nonsense. Because you're making a claim, and then when I ask you for evidence of it, you switch to something else. Because at first you did say biology.
Did you not say biology? Dragnot's going to kill you.
Did you not say it was in a biology book?
Yeah. Okay.
You did say it was in a biology book, correct?
Yeah. In general sense, I said that. In a
general sense. Okay. So in the non-general sense, is it not in a biology book?
In a non-general sense?
Yes, because you qualified the statement as if that meant something in this context.
He's basically asking you, was it in a biology book?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Okay. What specific biology book did you find this in?
I found this in actually in Richard Dawkins' book.
Really? Which
yeah.
Dawkins book? I actually own one.
Origins of Species somewhere in there.
So,
Actually,
wait, that's awesome. That's awesome.
The original species.
So I'm going to read this quote out. Atheism is saying that the thoughts in our mind are the end only the results of mindless, unguided process. Now, if that is the case, it seems to me that it's very difficult to see if there's any truth about ourselves. That is found in the Origin of the Species.
No, you're taking this a little too literal.
I'm literally taking what you presented in front of me.
Hold on.
He did ask you to be literal.
Okay, hold on.
This comes from the community, like Matt Slick, William Lane Craig, Adam Zacharias, John Lennon.
So just a bunch of Christian apologists. You're just stating their opinions.
Wait, hold on. You said this quote was found in the Origin of the Species?
Wrong. No, I said the debate with John Lennox and Richard Dawkins. There's a debate with those two.
That's not.
But you also said the Origin of the Species.
Because I want to pin this down. You said it was in the biology book, and then you said it was in the Origin of the Species, correct?
That's Charles Darwin. I was talking about Richard Dawkins and his debate.
But you brought up the Origin of Species in reference to Richard Dawkins.
Yeah, you literally said that like Dawkins wrote the Origin of Species, dude. I'm sorry, you did.
I wanted him to repeat it.
Yeah. Also, Drag, click the link I just posted in the side, and just read the top because it's not. Just read the top.
Okay. Hi, Richard.
Just for clarification's sake, Charles Darwin wrote the Origins of Species.
Yeah, on the Oranges of Species. Yeah,
I wanted him to repeat that.
The Oranges.
That was hilarious. So we went from this quote being found in the biology book to a mathemaician to it's now in the Origin of Species as written by Charles
Richard Dawkins.
Which is probably a slip up. So at what chapter?
I just had to say, God damn it, Sky, if you claim victory tonight.
He should.
Yeah, he definitely won.
Yeah, he won tonight.
Yeah, he did.
He definitely won tonight. So
it's not my goal to win a victory.
So at what chapter can I find this piece of text?
Dude, I told you this is something I put together for my methodology.
So it's all on you.
You told me earlier when it was in a book, you lied.
I didn't lie. I probably just misspoke. I mean, I'm saying that.
Oh.
Yeah. You never misspoke? No?
I have misspoke. Yeah. But then when I asked you to clarify, you repeated it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what?
So you misspoke twice in a row after asking for clarification?
Maybe I did. Who cares?
I think I care because when I have conversations with folks, I want to make sure that I'm presenting the truth to them and not just saying whatever.
Yeah, but you're an atheist. You don't have a foundation for truth.
Really? What is my theory of truth? Wait, I love this. What's my theory of truth?
I don't know your theory. I'm saying you don't have a foundation.
That would be my theory of truth.
That you don't have a foundation?
The theory of truth is literally my foundation.
Yeah.
Like, what part of that don't you understand?
How do you know it's true if it's just a theory?
Oh my word! Are you serious? Come on, Sky, please. I love you, my dude. Oh, you're great. I love you so much.
Man, Sky, I just want to thank you for coming here and taking.
I'm going to get a back rib my wife.
I might be biased, but I just.
Sky, are you a troll? I have to notice. Are you a troll?
No, he's not.
Sky, you really need to stay on Modern Day Debate where James is not going to allow this kind of debauchery.
Dude, you don't take this stuff way like it's your life and death. Like this.
It is in some instances life and death. Seriously.
Like you have to believe everything everyone says, or it's life or death. Like, give me a break.
No, for the kid that was just thrown out today by his religious ass parents, that is now 16 years old on the streets, no food, no home, and yes, I think it's life and death for that kid.
Because it came out gay.
And several others.
Yeah. But but he's saying, well, people take this too seriously. You want to see what I have in the other screen here, Sky Out, just so you can see how serious I'm taking this.
And once we get to it, I have so many super chats. I just want to say I'm so grateful for what's happening tonight.
I'm actually looking over a physiology exam on Quizlet as I'm talking to you, just so you know how serious I'm taking this conversation.
Dragon, you a doctor?
No, I'm in school to be a cancer researcher.
Me.
Well, my advice that you shouldn't take this too literally. You should get laid in the hospital.
I think that if I'm going to take you seriously as a person, I'm going to believe what you tell me. And if you're telling me falsehoods, I should take that seriously.
You literally, Sky Out, have sat here and say that gay people should not be gay, and then say don't take shit too seriously. We're telling you not to take it so damn seriously. That's God.
Sky Out, are you supposed to be representing a Christian in this debate, in this talk?
Yeah, Richard Richard is another Christian, and he has a different perspective. Please, Richard.
Get him, Richard. Get him.
What do you mean by you shouldn't be serious? If you're supposed to be representing Christ as you see it, I think you should be very serious whenever you're doing that. Now, if you come on here and say, hey, I'm just Joe Guy, then that's fine. Goof off all you want. But if you're coming here as a representative of Christianity, and now you're going to say, don't take the Christian things I say seriously, well, then don't say them.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that the arguments that being presented, you can take them either way. You don't have to like what I say.
Oh, and by the way, peace and love to all of you and respects.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't say that first.
Peace and love, peace and love.
And Richard has a glorious beard.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Richard, because it is, and I've had a few conversations with you, and I think you do take the theology that you profess very seriously, and up until the point that you will critique other Christians on their interpretations, and you actually spend time to make sure that the things that you want to critique, you have a foundation for, and I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And other people should actually, even if you disagree, look for people who do take the time to question themselves, whether they be atheists or theists or pagans or whatever, because those are the people who are going to have the most to say in a conversation that's just not only verbose, but it's going to be filled with information and specifically stuff you might not know. So please, if you learn anything from this exchange, don't just give up and default to, well, I don't care. Right. That's not going to garner you souls. That's not going to garner you respect. That's not going to garner you much. And because if you carry these type of traits in real life, you will have people in your circle who do value integrity and knowledge and help you grow as a person.
Someone might accusing you of appreciating integrity for the way you speak.
I just posted just a few days ago on my Facebook that every positive conversation I have with a Christian heals me, right? And Richard is one of those conversations. Like, we can totally disagree on so much stuff, but we can be humans together. And there is this thing about coexistence and Sky Out. Like, seriously, dude, all these presuppositions, trying to assume what we are, it has to drive you crazy personally when we as atheists try to assume things about you, and I said before this that I truly thought that I wouldn't put you nowhere near the level of Matt, but then you went and did the thing that I said was below Matt. I can appreciate that Matt in his ignorance just comes out and says, I hate gay people. I truly despise anybody that would tell a gay person and use God as their justification that, it's okay that you are who you are, just don't be who you are. At least Matt comes out and says, you know what? I hate you. I hate you and die.
Right. What about those people that had a community that used to be gay and now they've been gay for 20 years and now they realize they made a mistake and they don't like that life?
Do you not think that any pressures from the religious communities and every single person around them has anything to do with that? Now, I'm not saying that they are justifiably not in question of their sexuality. I think people question their sexuality well into their old age, right? I think sexuality is always an open question, right? But
not for me.
If you think that a lot of these people aren't being pressured by the religious communities, by the people around them, that they don't even have to be religious to hate them for what they do, because they can't understand it and because they fear it, that has nothing at all to do with what you're speaking of.
Can I piggyback that? Sky Out, ex-gay is not a thing.
What?
Yeah, it's really not. Those what are they called? The Pray Away the Gay camps, corrective therapy. Those are torturous to people, especially the kids that are being sent there by like their loving Christian parents. We love you so much, we're going to send you this place that is going to damn near torture you out of the way that supposedly that God created everybody. That's the way that your God created you. But to think that we choose, and when I say me, I mean the LGBT community, because I'm the B in that part. To think that we choose our sexuality. Think of all the terrible crap that people like yourself and the Matt Powells. I don't know. Do you think all gay men are pedophiles?
No.
But the Matt Powells of the world. Think of all the terrible crap that they say about gay men and the LGBT community in general. Do you seriously think people choose that lifestyle? And then no, it's not. No, nobody chooses that. Just like you didn't choose to be straight.
I literally choose to be ostracized by my community.
Exactly.
I literally choose to be different than the vast majority of the population. I literally choose to open myself to all the fucking bigots of the world.
All the violence. Violence. I live in Georgia, so my boss can fire me for being bisexual and not. I mean, it's an at-will state, so she can fire me if she doesn't like my shoes. She wouldn't, but half of our staff is LGBT. So
it's seriously one of the things that atheists and the gay community share, because it takes strength to come out against the general consensus of society. It takes strength to come out and say, hey, I am who I am, and accept me or not, but this is who I am. And that's why I identify with them so much. It's not because I'm a closet homosexual like so many of my Christian relatives have told me throughout the years, just because I support the rights of human beings. No. It's because I can understand it, because I am that minority. I am.
It also takes a lot of bravery. Sorry.
I mean, I've just had people just throw me away because I finally stood up and been Nakasuchi, the Raging Atheist. Because I was no longer quiet about it. And when I was quiet about it, it was okay. They knew it, but it wasn't talked about. But the moment I stopped being silent, I was no longer acceptable. And fuck those people.
Yeah, the whole ex-gay and the conversion therapy. Ex-gay is not a thing, Sky Out. It's not.
It's not. It's people.
All right, Sky Out, I have a question for you. When did you decide to be heterosexual? When did you choose to be straight?
You can't choose to be straight.
Exactly. And you can't choose to be gay. Yes, it is. I didn't choose to be bisexual. I am bisexual, period.
No one is born a homosexual.
Yeah, they are, actually.
Well, I don't believe that.
Well, I don't care what you believe. The science says otherwise. Nobody would choose to be ostracized by their family, to open themselves up to violence and bigotry. No one should be
born a drunkard. Are you born a rapist?
Actually, you can be born not a drunkard, but the addiction, the gene addiction. Addiction it can be genetic. I'm the adult child of a recovering drug addict. I didn't get that addictive gene, but I could have.
Hey, guys, can I ask something of Sky Out, if you guys don't mind?
Please, sure, I was going to ask something. Go ahead, Richard.
Thank you. Hey, Sky Out, you're familiar with the King James version?
Shit.
That was loud.
That was my phone. I'm sorry.
You okay?
Yeah, I dropped my phone.
Sky Out, could you please answer that again?
All right, guys, real quick. I was only really planning on staying on till 9 o'clock. I have missed the first hour of a great debate. I'm really disappointed about that. We got 10.
The one on modern day debate with Godless Engineer, right?
Yeah, yes. I was planning on watching all of that. So we got 9 minutes now. And I'm closing this thing out.
All right.
Sky Out, do you remember the part in Matthew 19:10 through 12 where the 12 apostles are asking a question of Christ? Does that sound familiar?
I'm sorry, what was the verse?
Matthew 19:10 through 12.
I don't know it off the top of my head. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to review it. I'm going to give you an opinion on it right now. I'm going to make an assertion, but it seems in context there's only one way to take that. The 12 apostles ask of Christ, if a man is like a woman. Now, what do you suppose that means?
I mean, like a man is like a woman?
They said, this is the opening of the question, if a man is like a woman. What does that mean?
If a man is like a woman, I have to read the text. Hold on, what was the verse?
Matthew 19:10 through 12, please.
19. 1 moment. 19.
The rest of the question is it good that he should marry? I'm sure that means marry in the traditional sense of that kind of time frame. Jesus does not answer the question. He answers the larger question. He said, this is not for all, but only for those who would receive it. That some are born of the womb. That some eunuchs, he used the word eunuchs, of course, they didn't have the word homosexual. They didn't have the term LGBTQ+. So he uses the word eunuchs. Says some eunuchs are born of the womb. Some eunuchs are made eunuchs by other eunuchs. Some yet choose to be. But for the kingdom of God's sake, if someone can receive the good news, let them. So either Jesus was into torturing homosexuals about the promise of God, or he was saying they go to heaven. Now you can decide which one that is.
I mean, the whole Jesus narrative is about acceptance and broadening, right?
And love.
Broadening the scope of the amount of people that can come to heaven. The original Jewish lore said a very limited amount of people would make it to heaven. So Jesus was supposed to come and change all of that. And yet now you guys want to limit what Jesus was. And this is coming from a non-Jesus believer. You want to limit what Jesus's sacrifice actually stood for. As I said earlier in this live stream, if Jesus were alive today, if you think that he would not be in every single gay pride parade, you are sadly mistaken and have not read the Gospels thoroughly.
So you don't believe that homosexuality is a sin?
I do not believe in sin personally.
Then you don't
But
believe
if there is sin, no, I do not think that people being people is a sin. I just
Let me respond to
God would not have made homosexuality if he did not approve of it. God created everything, hence he created homosexuality by your logic, right?
No.
Oh, so Satan created it. Satan's a god now.
No,
he's saying we choose it and we don't, Skyo. As
Right,
somebody,
I mean, it comes from Satan, right?
it comes from your own distortion and rebellion from.
Where does that distortion and rebellion come from?
I guess, yeah, you're right. It comes from Satan.
It comes from Satan.
Yeah.
Seriously? Is that
Satan is a god now?
Yeah, he's a god on this earth. Yeah.
You really think
Why would
that
God put another god among us, mere mortals, and expect us to be able to fight him?
I'd love to do a show on that, bro.
Yeah, I'd love to. God, let me in on that, Richard.
Yeah, I mean, we got 5 minutes left. You don't got much time.
No, another show. not tonight.
That would be a show all in itself. Richard, Marty,
would.
y'all
I'd
are
love
welcome
to.
back. Anybody that wants to have that conversation is welcome to have that conversation with me, because I would like to understand why God would do that fucked up shit. And I'm sorry, Sky, I appreciate you coming on here, taking the brunt. It is the Raging Atheist. Fuck is a very plausible word in this atmosphere.
Hey, knock. Go ahead and say a time and a date right now.
When Dr. Josh and other people on, and Richard is on, so I shouldn't be using it as much as I am.
Oh, bro, I've heard it. I've said it.
But yeah, it's like curse words. Come on, dog. Like, words cannot curse you. They're words. They're adjectives. I use them in books. People have used them. A lot of the words used in the Bible are considered curse words.
Sister Marty, come up with a time and a date. I have an open schedule for you.
Yeah, we need to have that conversation. That would be and Sky Out, you're welcome to come and participate. Like, I do appreciate you sitting here and taking your lumps. But man, I try to warn you, like you coming into Dragnot and Sokka trying to talk philosophy is never a good thing. It's
They
not.
don't listen, dude. They don't listen. All they said is that we have special knowledge that God does not exist. Where do you get your knowledge from?
Sky Out, I'm sorry, dog. I mean, I like you. I think that you like are genuine and like I can sit here and have a civil discourse with you, not like Matt and not like other people. So like, I do find your stances on homosexuality to be atrocious.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to you further about that, Sky, at another time.
But at least you sat here and you took your lumps. You're not afraid of it. But I'm gonna have like 4 or 5 different different cutouts of this conversation that is like Skyle got killed. Skyle got killed more. Skyle got killed more. Skyle got killed more. And then Skyle got really killed more.
That's my character, dude. I come on and say I'm the best ever, and I get destroyed. That's my whole character.
Man, but
So
hey,
all of this is
I
just
do
a
appreciate like you came on and you took your lumps, and dude, I mean, man, you are welcome here anytime. And next time I'll try to make it a little more fair for you because you had a whole lot of
atheists.
Yeah, like people in opposition to your worldview. So next time I should make it a little more fair on you.
It's all good, dude.
You came in, and I give you mad props for that, dude. But I am missing a really good debate. So
I know watching that debate too, and I'm kind of bummed. But Knock, we can email each other and set something up with you, Rich, and I to talk about that.
Yeah, that would be an interesting conversation. I'm looking forward to that. And next weekend I'm gonna have a free for all. This wasn't supposed to be a free for all. It turned into one. I'm grateful because I needed it. I seriously I felt like crap all day. I had this really crazy headache, and then I got rid of my headache, and I'm like, you know what? I'm sleepy. Dr. Josh is coming on. I'm gonna have a drink, and now I'm awake, and I'm gonna watch Godless Engineer, at least the Q&A part of it, destroy Stan. Man, I can't believe I missed this shit.
I know. I set the thing to let me know when it was on, but I'm glad I got it on there.
I mean, you know, Godless Engineer is so smart. But he's not on Raw, but Godless Engineer is going to crush Standing for Truth on this shit. So, man, I might have to just go start it from the beginning. Or I'm going to have to watch it so I can participate in the chat and then go start it from the beginning. But I appreciate you guys coming on here. I don't think I ever really got to the question or an answer to my question, Sky Out, if you support Matt Powell. So that will be the next time. I do want to thank you, Sky Out, for coming on, taking the lumps. Martha, Carlton, Athena's back. We're getting out of here though. If you aren't watching it, Modern Day Debate is live right now, and Scholar Fiction, if he's not live, might be live at some point. I'm not sure if it's actually happening, but yeah. So you guys have a good night. Thanks.
Love you all very much. Have peace.
Oh, Richard, you can email me too. That's my email address in there.
Okay, I don't see the chat right now, but I'll pick it up later. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, and if you don't, Richard, email me and I'll give it to you.
You can get it
Thank
from
you, brother.
All right.
Bye, guys.
See you guys later.